Chapter 2116. P.S. Hey race today's update. And at the same time, I'm trying to get more votes for Chidian 515 Fan Festival. Everyone has 8 votes. And you can even get some coins for voting. The third prince gritted his teeth. No, it's not going to work if this goes on. The 8th prince also noticed the situation. They noticed that the third prince was at the edge of the canyon and did not go deeper. In this way, it would not be a fatal blow to the third prince. Therefore, the 8th prince gritted his teeth and woke up all the powerful experts and rushed in. They also wanted to enter the dark canyon. Of course, their purpose was to let the third prince go deeper into the dark canyon. In this way, it would be a more fatal blow to the third prince. Sure enough, the third prince gritted his teeth when he saw this. He had no choice but to retreat again. Therefore, when they went deeper into the canyon, a black gust of wind blew around them. It included all the third prince's team. When the 8th prince saw this scene, he quickly brought his men and retreated from the scene. They did not dare to go deeper into the canyon. Moreover, it seemed that the third prince had encountered some danger. Therefore, they only needed to wait patiently outside. Because during this period of time, a lot of black gust of wind blew into their bodies and eroded their bodies. They had to clear the black gust of wind out of their bodies. Otherwise, it would affect their bodies. It would affect their combat effectiveness. A day later, the 8th prince and the others opened their eyes. The black gust of wind in their bodies had been removed. However, it still made them feel a lingering fear. At this time, the 8th prince frowned again. Although the third prince was surrounded by the gust of wind, they did not know what the final outcome was. How about this? I'll bring a few people in to check it out. Taoist Long said in a deep voice. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Go in. What a joke. It's such a dangerous place. Isn't it suicide to go in? Therefore, many people refused, and the 8th prince sighed. It would be great if Brother Lin was here. The Brother Lin that he mentioned was naturally Lin Xian. Lin Xian was so skilled and daring. He should not be afraid of such a place. However, it was a pity that Lin Xian was not here now. The 8th prince did not give up. He said, "We have a few chances to contact each other. It seems that we have to use it now." After saying this, the 8th prince began to send messages to Lin Xian, Duan Qingqing and Lu Fei. 2 days later, Lu Fei and Duan Qingqing arrived near the dark canyon. They met with the 8th prince. "You guys are here." The 8th prince smiled when he saw the two of them. Then he asked, "Where's Brother Lin? Is he not with you? Or did you guys meet some danger?" Soon, Duan Qingqing Lu to the third to the dark escaped to many of the royal elders to the shook their heads inside. When the crowd heard that Lin Xian had snatched the golden treasure chest, the dark canyon was being hunted down by the third prince's men. Except for that one time a few hundred years ago. Therefore, they did not know where Lin Xian was to explore it. However, the 8th prince said, "Perhaps it's a good opportunity. He should be fine. You're right. Let's wait for a while." Another royal elder nodded. Indeed, although the 8th prince under our control, Lin Xian's strength, there are some places inside that we still do not understand. The 8th prince had forced the canyon is one of them. The dark canyon. I have a feeling that this place is not simple. Then they became excited. It seems to be hiding some peerless beast. They had been attacked by the third prince's subordinates. Some of the royal elders frowned. Now that the third prince was at a disadvantage, they were naturally happy. Chapter 2120. The two of them sat down cross-legged and waited quietly. On the other side, hiding in a mountain range. Inside a cave, frowned. Lin Xian opened his eyes. Black crocodile. He had received the message from the small body have such a powerful impact. But he was not in a hurry to leave. If it were not for the fact that the third prince floating in front of him were so powerful, it was the chaotic heaven destroyer sword technique. On the other side, he had finished reading the chaotic heaven destroyer sword technique. He looked at the light screen in front of him. It was divided into 3 levels. Fell into deep thought. 3 realms. That was. Moreover, dark demonic crocodile. This sword technique increased the user's combat power by condensing chaotic another black lizard crawled out. The emperor's voice sounded mighty figures and surrounding elders. Among us, there were 4 lords of the underworld. Lin Xian had rolled up dark demonic crocodile. Scarlet eyes terrifying demonic forms in the first. At the same time, they sucked in. However, treasures not equal value. Their expressions were incomparably shocked. After all, the elders are having the next moment. What a great, although it was only a beginner having the Lord of the underworld. It was not terrifying. confronted the demonic crocodile was. The difficult just as they finished during imagination and the other. It was not easy for him to also very difficult to deal with such a short aura. It was all the darkness heaven blood from their could also absorb it. Although the waters of the three realms also knocked back. He had not even very deep voice and let out in the end the barrier had also so fast. However, the treasures in the immediate power. These people crushed by a lot and those in the outside. It was too fast. If he could fully perform the chaos heaven underworld, they would have been his domain also shattered heaven. It was no lizard. Now there was a crocodile contact beside the next that Wuxia also not a total of 5 crocodiles. The same time, mighty figure frequently thought as he stared at the crocodile all the flesh and blood on the dark red dragon of black balls left dragging in the wind. After seeing that, his body was also and the others, however, wanted to meet up with the eight. They were all terrified. Along the way, there was a small crocodile that stopped however while attacking all your coverage done. Chaotic heavens were just young. The next moment, 3 days later, terrifying Wuxia power and his thinking of this with a wave of scouts went he put away their cultivating body, waiting for everyone figured to send divine dragons soon he saw a tail. At the same time, the terrifying they were monster ground was split in the dark canyon. Every others also on their own. Kingstone was whistling down even though he was far away. A golden silent crocodile also realized that they had chased why was the eighth there were two sides exchanging blows. Many a great battle in their eye. He sensed that terrifying prince also was in all directions. However, the more into the mountains below collapsed, then he couldn't. However, the other almighty crocodile that Satan and the others were also astounded them. They left they were facing a true enemy, and headed east in the next moment. During this period, they encountered many treasures along the way. All alone treasures of darkness through the void, and the others outside the king's domain. It was very intense. They were also through the void. Every collision brought about an almighty shout because this, however, their voice was like however others were all in direction. The black, the golden Wuxia on the other hand, tall body was filled with the each and every one of them was like a golden hair fluttered to it. The almighty red like a golden prince, and the others did not blazing. The black opened their eyes. The energies of the golden lion when they found out that it was that man wrapped around the monster also brought the other tear. How can it have such terrifying and the others were shocking and the others were ugly gods. In the end, they cracked the ear from the void where they had because they did not find the first three of them and royal elders round. It seems that the golden lion king was acting alone. Now that I see things are fine, they had a strange expression for careful because when Lin Xian the netherworld king reminded they were already canyon in the distance because no one dared to move in such a small team. So he was trying to enter the canyon. It was like but now the eighth Dalai saw in the matter lion immediately activated Prince's domain to the canyon area. Lin Xian was surrounded by swords. Then he smiled, covering a radius of several miles on this land alone. His surroundings, one must have known that no matter how strong a person was, retreat strength was limited with anger. If they encountered other groups, however, they might be hunted down. 21:17. However, not only did the Golden Lion King act alone, at the same time together in trying to get votes for the Chidian 5 to show hearts of darkness in it. Everyone has very nutritious, and you can even get some coins for voting. Darkness type items are used done for a moment before a smile that was because the netherworld king didn't expect the power to obtain benefits. There were more than a dozen of them. How could he agree about it? Although they were now in the bursting with anger, even though he was a genius moment that Master Long ordered around by young Master Lin. However, he was not afraid because he had enough confidence. Are you willing to go and he'll use other treasures to buy it? The Golden Lion King was very dangerous, and there might be a sky however at this moment. If you don't want to, no one will force when the royal elders promised me that the Xian was also surprised. They will also expect Taoist Master Long to have such an Golden Lion King. Although he had heard of the legend, he actually dared to act alone. He knew that it was very dangerous of the Lord by the way to get rid of it. Indeed, it was even more terrifying could be heard. The Empress without the death aura. Thinking about it, she had paid a dangerous could also be absorbed. He didn't expect Taoist Master Long to it was all for the sake of helping her son. The first he was just chasing, although the Golden Lion share of the heart of darkness. Thought for a moment, the others the heart of darkness. Are there any treasures hearing that? Worried. The netherworld because she knew that the strength alone wasn't enough. Was extremely terrifying. What really tempted me was definitely beyond everyone's imagination. Because apart from Dark Grand Canyon, since it was a ruin, Prince's expression was solemn. Perhaps stared at the Golden Lion Master Long. Then it wasn't they were facing a great enemy. Lin Xian, although the Golden Lion King now knew that the more dangerous a ruin Taoist Master better the things they did not dare to be careless. It was indeed a ruin. The Golden Lion only one person had my youth Prince for a long time. How about it? And did not if you give it to me, they didn't get any treasure. If not, then forget it. Then no one had entered it since he wanted, and therefore no one knew if the netherworld treasures inside. Taoist Master
Lin
Xian,
the
powerhouse around the only one
treasures
had
had
compensate you for your loss.
and it
was because the golden lion king.
Taoist
from the
Master
legend
did
did
not
not
dare
dare
to
to
go
go
in
in
at all.
Indeed, they did not
However,
however imagine
based on
the
the
happiness
happiness
such a
terrifying
terrifying
existence
existence
for
for
the
the
Netherworld
king was
It was
willing
just
to
that it was
exchange
a
it with the
terrifying
golden
and
lion
dangerous
target was not
was
them.
naturally happy
But there
to
should
grant
be treasures
canyon.
inside.
Thinking
Just
of
as
this,
the three of them were discussing,
mouths twitched.
Thinking of this,
ordinary
Lin Xian was not even able to escape. He wanted to give it a try.
The dark
His
Grand
breath
Canyon
began to tremble
Yeah,
rapidly.
the golden lion
Moreover,
like a
he
black
had the
waterfall
great
on the dark
they once again
canyon.
slashed
Even if
toward
he
the
encountered
huge danger,
alone,
it had to be said that
truly
the
shocking.
dark
Even if he
grass
really
was
encountered
terrifying
danger
that he could not
although it was
contend
just
with.
the grass,
He
still
still
had
had
thousands
of
of years
tore
through the
void
void
and
and
headed
it
toward the
had
dark
become
Grand
terrifying
Canyon
monster
monster
that
that
even
even went
in a one-on-one
could
fight
break in.
no one was
As long as he
hid
hid
and
inside,
therefore
he could have
lived
lived all
cold
dangers.
air.
And the other
Not only
were
them,
prepared
he
to
still
attack
had
royal
some
elders
divine
of the
crystals,
supreme harmony
and a
power
Lin Xian
through
his
his demonic
sword.
sword.
He could
And
act
his
in
body
not
black
admit
earth
the golden
terrifying
lion
sword
was enough
chi.
to protect
To be
himself
self-sharing
from
problems
were
were
emitted
emitted
from
from
the
the
demonic
place.
sword.
The worst
The
case
golden
scenario
lion
was that he
wouldn't be able to
find
find
on the
canyon.
other side
And
soon
would have
after
to
hide in
Taoist
this
Master's
black
golden
held
body
red
was
if he was
enveloped by
lucky,
countless
he might
black
be able to
gales
find
and
some
some
treasures.
Taoist
Meanwhile,
Master Long,
inside
no one
the
had
dark
explored
Grand
the dark
Canyon,
trusted
Lin
power.
Xian and the
This
others
was
did
enough
not
to
know
know
that
that
the
the
golden lion
when
king
the
had
next
already
moment
entered.
his aura
Lin
alone
Xian
was
could
enough
not
to
be
shatter
shatter
the
He was
world.
also in trouble.
Sure.
They
They
were
were
being
being
pursued.
pursued.
Could be said
A
that
group
dark
of black
extremely
crows
powerful.
after him.
Hearing this,
The netherworld's
everyone's
everyone's
eyes were also
but they were
shining
densely
air.
packed.
Rays
The
of
other
purple
party
were
were
tens of
like
thousands
on
of
them.
body.
This
And
was
every
increasing
single one of
circled
them
around
had
the eighth
blood red
prince
eyes.
was
Then,
also a little
this was the
surprised.
purplish black
He did not
crow.
expect
That
that
it was
was
extremely violent and
did
did
not
not
fear
also an
death.
elite
However, he
powerhouse.
chased them all the way.
Moreover,
Brother
with the
Lin, even though
enhancement
he
in
really
the dark
thought
element,
the
others had killed
it was
power
very
without
dangerous
more
inside.
powerful.
They had attracted
And there was
even
even
more
a
bloodthirsty
possibility of
demonic
death
crows.
to form
Don't
an
worry,
even
each
more
person
powerful
to
attack.
I have the ability
to
to
protect myself.
Wasn't this crow a little
Lin
too
Xian
crazy?
said with a
Chapter
smile.
21
Hearing
chasing
this,
for
the
3,000
8th
miles.
prince did not
A
say
gust of
anything
wind
else
blew
to give
around
up.
the
Everyone
purple
also
wings.
fell
The
silent,
increasing the
expressing
power
since
of
the
the
other party
had
had
said
said
Taoist
so.
Master
Originally,
Long
also
they
nodded
only
his
wanted
move.
to pluck some
Was
dark
there
flower
anyone
in
else
his
who wanted
hand
to
so
go
they
to
didn't
come
expect
alive
to
to
moment
provoke
emitting a
these
fiery
fiery
Master
red
Long
crows?
stood up and
The
looked
spirit
around. There was
burst
a
out.
3,000
No one in
mile
the entire
surroundings
sky
agreed.
red.
Lin Xian's
The
expression
dazzle
was
was
very
also
hesitantly
evident.
enveloped
Even
the
though the
dark
dark
canyon
canyon
shot out a
seemed
wave of
tempting.
ice. Lin Xian didn't back down
Canyon
either.
seemed
The
tempting.
world's nine
Behind him
darkness
was
turned
too
demonic
dangerous
sword
inside,
continued to
causing
grow.
those
They estimated that there was like
80
black
frozen
mountain
in
that
ice
came
that they
crashing
wouldn't be
down.
able to return.
The murderous aura was
Therefore,
like a
these
dragon,
people directly
even if they
shattering
weren't
their
frozen.
However,
Some of them
by
were
the
completely
ice
enveloped
with
at
slow
this
down.
grass
An
below.
old
Another
man
world
stood up
even
and
all the
said,
entire void
I
was
also want to
rapidly
give him a
collapsing.
try.
Huge purple
It could
ball
not
of
lack
light
any
and the
power
lord
at
of the
all.
underworld.
Lin Xian,
Everyone
and
empowered
the
in
others
such
launched
powerful attacks.
Taoist
And
attracted
Master
all the
Long's
crazy
expression
crows
was
all
also
surrounding
solemn.
him. Saw the scene.
Then
He
now
smiled
pairs
and
of
said,
eyes appeared on its
"Since the
devil
Lord
crows
of the
at all,
underworld
emitting
is
a
willing
could
to
only
go,
slow them
I'm
down as
naturally
much as
happy.
possible.
It's dozens of
Lin
Xian
Xian looked at the
continued
old
to grow
man
until they were
a
1,000
meters
The
long.
distance
The old
between
man
the
was
two
there
parties
like a
got
heavenly
farther
blue
and
pattern
farther.
stirring
In
rapidly.
the end, Lin
His body
Xian
was
and the
emitting
others
cold
completely
aura.
got rid of
Although
these
his face
bloodthirsty
was
devil
dying.
crows.
His figure was very
intense
tall,
collision
and his
rang out.
entire body
Followed
carried
the
a powerful
explosion
dark
in the void.
Moreover,
although the
from
black
the
other
other
party
and
saw
Taoist Long's
they
faces
were
were
also
also
slightly
powerful
attacks
attacks
of
because
Lin
it was
Xian,
too frightening
from the
his
other
aura.
two.
They were
heavily
heavily
surrounded
surrounded
by
by
the
the
crows
crows
that
that
filled
filled
the
the
sky.
sky. No wonder he dared
If they
to come
could
out.
front of them,
He
they would
probably
have
had
had
some
some
terrifying energy
by
other
now
than
in
the
all
Lord as
directions.
expected of a
However,
forbidden
everyone
area.
else
Chaotic
felt
inside
silent.
this dark
Another
race
canyon
black
to go.
rays of
Every
light
place was
however,
extremely
Taoist
fierce.
Master Long nodded
Even
his
those beasts
satisfaction.
were much
Another
more
terrifying
of them
than
going
those
together.
outside. Like a black
His
snake
next
fierce
continued
tornada
on
on
their
their
way.
way.
Whoosh.
However,
Lin
he turned
Xian
around
did
and
not
discovered
discover
that there were a
head-on.
few figures
His body
going for
sprayed
them rushing
and
over.
he dodged the
terrifying
people.
here first.
Lin
But
Xian
soon
was
was
frowned
frowned
for a
days.
moment.
That was because
They
the
don't
leaves
come out
was
after
extremely
10
vigilant.
days.
At
At
this
this
moment,
wait any longer. They turned around, you can found that the figures in front of them were somewhat like a shadow. Hearing this, it was as if it would not give up until it reached its goal. Immediately, their expressions became incomparably strange. Snorted coldly. They found a ball of blue frost appeared on his body, cross-legged again. In the netherworld, and waited also narrowed his eyes. The huge corners of his mouth staff in her hand and shot out frost. And the Lord of the Underworld turned around, and everything had done 1,000 miles well turned into ice crystals. In front of them was the cold air drifting, and the others. Lin Xian felt a very sorry wind flowing around. Some of the lights on their bodies had been frozen, and some of their clothes were tattered. Black ghost grass also slowed down, and immediately activated his frost. They were frantically running for their lives. It was getting heavier and heavier. Pressure on him to be frozen in the void. However, crash,
the gust of wind
in the
still
end,
made clanking
damage
sounds
was
within
Taoist
him void.
Taoist
It was
seeing
the
these
eight
princes
princes
men
and the Lord of
they
the
actually
Underworld
sent
also
people
activated
However,
their
could it
armor,
be
and
that
that
they
they
wanted
wanted
to
to
kill
kill
them
them
all?
all?
Countless
The
cracks
sudden
suddenly
prince
appeared on
Taoist
the
master
master's
loudly
loudly
exploded with
There
its
are two of you
expressions
should
and
be
the
careful.
black leaf let out
The
a
gust of
furious
wind
roar.
here has a corrosive
dash.
It
It
also has a
like
cold
a black
death
flood
the
dragon
mighty
that
figure
came
next
so
to
valiant
him.
King Almighty's.
Lin
At this
Xian's
moment,
therefore,
they had already
this
lost
was the
one
first
person
time he
body,
had seen
and the
such a
remaining
powerful
terrifying
demon
were also
beast of wind.
injured.
One had to
Lin
know
Xian
that
then
his shock
snorted
came from
coldly.
the dark
Cerberus.
canyon
There was no
indeed
need to terrify
something
him.
that
Just
even
the gust of wind here was
just
enough
so
to
happens
make
that they
people
can share
scalp
some of the
however,
danger
the
with
black
King
leaf was
Almighty's
actually
probably
did not enter at all.
This really
And the
surprised
others
him.
sped up.
King
However,
Almighty's
Lin
would
Xian
probably be torn
and the
apart
others frowned when they saw the
It was
third
just at the
printer.
speed of the
Moreover,
black grass
even
was
Almighty's
much slower
power
than
and their
before.
bodies erupted.
It seemed that
It
he
was
was
said
said
that
that
even
even
Almighty's
Lin
might not
Xian
dare
executed
enter the
heavenly
voice
dragon
came
from
from
the
the
canyons
prince
and
and quickly
one had to
dodged.
admit
Don't
that
attack.
at the
This
same
was too
time
strange.
no
He
continuously
the three of them
released
walked
streams
of icy aura.
Lin Xian
The sword
reached
light
out
in his hand
and
caught a
hearing
gust
this,
of the
Lin
gust of
Xian
wind
flashing
and the
at the
others
wind
used
every
his soul
time.
power
But
to
then,
sense its
their
slow
expressions
leaves were
became
abnormally
extremely
soft.
unpleasant
There was
and
a
had a
thick
gentle
gentle
force
in the
they
gust of
realized
wind
that
most of
third
the
prince
swords
could
were
deprive
deprived
King
King
However,
Almighty's of their
after it wasn't
fidelity
just
of them.
flashes,
To the vast
behind them,
majority of King
there were
Almighty's
five figures that were
this
chasing
made the
after
dark
them
elves
like
lightning.
lightning.
However, there was an
in the
exception.
next moment,
The exception
seeing
was the
this,
Lord of
swept
the
over
Underworld,
beside
and the
each
others
of them had
understood
to
that the
withstand the
attack
attack
was
of King
trying to
Death and
divert the
Darkness.
trouble away.
Therefore,
Thinking of
he was
cover
not
the
affected
sky
by
by
the
the
gust
gust
of
of
wind
wind,
and quickly
and
sped
he was
around
a
to
little
escape.
excited.
Lin Xian
However,
the Lord of the
they did not
Underworld
think
looked
of
around
escape
and grinned
and dodged
back.
them, because there were countless black
Chapter
crows
21,
behind them.
the Lord of the
and they did
Underworld
not
really
dare
to
to
go
go
there
there
at
to
all,
cultivate.
and narrowly
Therefore,
avoided
they ran to the
danger.
right.
I can't stay
However,
here for too long.
Taoist
The
master
third
Longs
prince
and the others
would
were
not let
chasing
go
by
of
the
such a good
Lin Xian and the
opportunity,
others, as if he was a
thus,
big
if they wanted
dumpling.
to
Took out a black
blackboard
gourd
from
from
his
his storage
frowned.
ring and opened the
Meanwhile,
cap. The Lord of the
immediately,
Underworld sighed in the
gorge shone
distance
and formed a
Chapter
vortex
21
at the mouth of the
bottle
bottle.
directly.
Lin
Right?
Xian and
the
Taoist
surrounding
Master
master
worried
worried
about this
which
because
were
the ghost
ugly.
grass was
From the
too
looks
strong.
of it, just
It had
one
surpassed the strength of
ordinary
King
when he went out to
and now
cultivate.
that he was
And
hit
if
head
head-on,
on,
fleeing
up
ahead,
ahead,
difficult
this
to
made
walk.
them
Master
very
Long
unhappy.
saw this scene
Boom,
and did not say
any
anything.
leaves wrapped
Who asked
around
only
Taoist
chased
Master
forward
Long
and carefully explored the path.
hugging him tighter
On
and
the
tighter.
side, you think we don't
Young
dare
Xian
to
could
not
not
appear
appear
in the
either.
void
Because
these things were
Long
useless
snorted
one
coldly,
could imagine
because
his
his
body
body
could not have
Taoist
the
Master
Long
Long
was
there.
under at this
If you
moment.
have the ability,
he
then
narrowed
do
his
it.
eyes
Open.
to tell you
Because
the
he
truth.
discovered
That
we
there
have
were
already
black
lost
shadows
and
and
the
the
Lord
of the Underworld
Even a
were
powerful
worried
team
together
like a
like
cold
mountain
voice
came from the dark.
Do you think
However,
the
Lin
three of
Xian
you
could
can
not
resist
then
the
perceived
behind?
countless red
Because
lights
not
throughout
only
from
this,
the
there was
strong
Taoist
wind
Master
and
Long
Long
was
sun and died
and
the
Lin
surrounding
Xian
light
frowned.
was also
Following
dim
this,
as it was night.
what did you guys
moreover
moreover
shook the heavens
you know,
discovered that his
we just
floating
got
power
lost.
could not
Boom.
probe
And
too
this
far.
group of things
Leaves
came
were
blasted
blasted
away.
away. 3 to
Damn
5
it. There were
meters
many
is the
holes on
limit.
them.
Crocodiles.
One of them was
was
even blasted
monsters
blown away by
one
the
could
dark
imagine
magic.
how violent
Therefore,
if he
Taoist
wanted
Master
extremely
Long
unhappy
was
just now.
They had already
this
heavenly
moment
secret
for
to
20,000
Taoist
miles
and the
held a
heavenly
red
secret
crocodile
divine
behind
eyes
them
and
had
strong
no intention of
war.
giving
Under
up.
normal
In
circumstances,
circumstances,
he would not
expose
One had
it.
to
It did
know
not
that
expect
therefore
the
the
human
human
in
in
front
front
of
of
it
it
to
to
be
be able
able
to injure it.
He
They
discovered
were
that
the
there
next
were
moment
black mountains
sharp
and they
patterns
also
appeared on the edges of the
However,
leaves
most
that
of
were
them were not
even the
tall.
surface of the
Moreover,
leaves began to
there were
have
some
black
black liquids
They had
growing
never
on
been
the
chased
mountain
like
peaks.
this.
When an almighty
Those
touched
looked
it,
very
a few
strange.
small
They would be as if
crocodiles
they were bearing
the
fangs and
brandishing
leaving them
it could
with
be
no
said
way
that
out.
this
They were
poison
very
was very
desperate
strange.
and
Looked like demons.
They
They
wouldn't
wouldn't
be able to
Moreover,
survive in
very
the
difficult
trunks of the
to
trees
remove.
were black as
Taoist
hell.
Master
and
Long
emitted
said,
a
"Are you
cold
fucking
aura.
kidding me?"
You
However,
two
the Lord
hold
of the
back.
Underworld
were
quickly
also
finish
loud
it
and
off.
fluttered
A
in
few
the dark
crocodiles
There were many
could kill
dangers
them
among
in
the
this
branches
place
and
and
leaves.
After
He
saying
didn't
that,
believe it at all.
Taoist
Fruits.
Master
On the
Long
side,
snorted coldly.
Lin Xian
Long
armor appeared on his body and kept expanding. The dark canyon is very strange. The Red King's domain formed a solid stalk of grass was terrifying. That there would be such spirit master long would not be contaminated by the black fruit of heaven and earth. At the same time, the Lord of the Underworld in mouth and shook it forcefully. It usually grew in that sky was together together an ordinary stalk of grass. The Lord of the Underworld saw something that would never happen in the outside world. Serious. Therefore, it was very rare that canyon deal with willow trees on the market, and his body, however, he didn't expect that there was flying well wood in his soul force to probe behind him. When he discovered the crocodiles behind unexpected surprise, also that was because it was a stark demonic crocodile until it was like a black non-crocodile aura of death. Why would the legendary terrifying beast in the space below the purplish flash ball of light? Because he recognized the origin and just happened to read this. There were mysterious runes on it. If he had this mysterious bell was below. Are you sure you're not ball of light in the sky combined to form an incomparably terrifying faces of the third prince? Who would have thought that he would encounter powerful pressure that could topple mountains and even enter the dark canyon? Then everything in his domain and
Wuxia and the
crocodiles
crocodiles
were
into
so
a smile.
strong.
The dark
Then
the
flaming
crocodile was a
and let out a
famously
miserable
moved in
cry.
ancient times.
Then
Boom.
he cut down
It
a
was
tree
said that the blood
and
of
put away
dragons
the
and
entire
rocks
black
flowed
belt
in its
tree.
body.
Chapter
Then
21
he was
extremely
terrifying
terrifying
fruits on the other
at the
trees.
same time.
However,
However,
with the passage of time
down
rapidly,
so much so that
dozens
another
of
world
had
kings
already
or gods
appeared
long
in the
only
long
then
river of history.
when he
He
had
shrouded
already
the
the
body
body
of
of
the
the
dark
that it would
appear
appear
spiritual
again.
fruits.
Roar of the fire
In
god.
particular,
These creatures loved
and
and did not
netherworld
hesitate
was a little
and
anxious.
sword with both
The
hands.
faces
Down a
of the
little.
mighty
Suddenly,
figures on the
some
hellfire on
he
his
was a
body
dark
spread
tail.
informed the
Everyone
shadow
in
in
the
the
fire
great
god
imperial hall
then
had solemn
he splashed
expressions
down
when
with
they
his
saw
giant
this
he
black
didn't
sword.
expect
They
that
naturally
Lin
saw
Xian
Dao's
disguised
eyes
as
the
a
giant
giant
and the
slashed
other
down
pound,
and
many
torn
of them were
in half.
looking at Lin
Lin
Xian
Xian
powerful
just
flames
stand by and
murders
watch.
they discovered
He
that
also
the young
flew
man
over
was actually
and
able
began
to
to
recognize the
leaves
origin
such
of
a
the black
crocodile.
In an
Spirits.
instant,
They were indeed
the sword
surprised.
arrived in
Soon,
front
this
of
was
the
because
dark
many
of
of
the
the
imperial
flashed
families
down.
surrounding
Not
were
thought of it
divided
yet.
among
The terrifying
the
was
three
this young man.
All right, let's
experts
continue
directly
on our way.
blew up the area.
Dao
Elder
Elrond
Elrond
also revealed a satisfied
submerged
smile.
his name was
Although
Lin
these
Xian.
spiritual
The
fruits
number
were
one
useless to
swordsman
him,
of the
the
younger
collapsed
generation.
earth cracked.
He had
Those
defeated
dark
him
things
for
were
terrifyingly
definitely
by
very
quickly
surrounded
surrounded
the
them.
area.
However,
This scene was
just
too
as they were
terrifying.
about to leave,
He
he
was
could
definitely
definitely
enjoy the
movement
world in the black
in the
dark
first round.
grass in
Then
front
the
of
three
them.
and let out
Shrill
shrills
cries
of lightning
and it was
aimed
obvious
at
that although it was
Xian
powerful,
and
so
the
it was
others,
him. It could not
everyone
withstand
came
the
to avoid
combined
instantly
Lin
pierced.
Although many of
the
them
others
had
terrifying
never seen
black
lightning
lightning
so
before.
fast
All
that
they
they
had
had
all
all
heard
heard
of
of
Lin
Lin
Xian's
Xian's others couldn't
rotation.
react
They
in
were
time.
torn
After
into
all,
pieces.
by the time they reacted,
body
body
was
was
also
also
covered
covered black
figures
were
cracks.
already in
And
front
his
of
name
him.
had
Had
already
already
had
almost
almost
split him into
dynasty.
two halves
black
with
figures
moreover,
exuded a
he had
cold
maintained a
the
complete
dark
victory in the
grass
first
was
round.
finally angry.
Perhaps,
Lin
however,
Xian
did not
golden
die
eye
either,
of
so
the
it
blood
launched
in their
strong
bodies
his
to him.
attacks. However,
as if their
they
shoulders
were
were
about
about
to
to
leave their
Lin
bodies.
Xian's people
shrank.
The
The
three
three
of them
other
were
two
too
black
experts
figures
in the body of the
by
dark
the
gas
even if it
grass.
was dangerous,
It seemed
they were
that
like
the
a
vanguard
still
that
came
kept
was
beating.
not in a good
Every
situation.
time long
Beat.
snorted
These
cold
people
wind
had
poured
encountered
out
the
the sound
dark
wave.
and crocodiles.
Could this be the
And
heart
it was
of dark
difficult
sound
for
wave
them to
emitted
indeed
strong
such powerful
fluctuation?
energy.
The
It was
third
as if
Xian was
countless
shot,
and the
heavenly
others
blades
naturally
used
there was no time
for
for
him
ran
to
for
think
their
about
directly
it.
shattered the void.
However,
and
the
beating
beating
of
of
the
the
heart of
crocodile
darkness
netherworld
behind them
king
the dark
closely
ghastly
moved,
grass
because
because
no
no
one
one
had
had
exploded
with
balls
balls
of
like
energy.
quickly appeared in
Their
front of
desire
him.
for
The broken
human
gleams
beings
on his body
embodied
were
him.
restored again.
Lin
Therefore,
Xian's
they
gaze
were
was
like
even
thousands
sharper.
of hands
How could they
dancing
let
in
them
the
go?
terrifying
Then
scene
they
that
attacked
shot
animals
outward
or
his
too
eyes.
despicable.
It
The
directly
voice mighty
collapsed
figures
figures
were
and
mysterious.
destroyed
The
everything. There was
terrifying
nothing they
pack
could
spread
do.
for
This
miles.
was the power
Lin
of the
Xian
great
entire
dragon
sky
was
was torn
torn
to pieces.
It instantly
Damn,
enveloped
worked
the
together.
black
How can
figure.
this
There
guy
might
still
be
have the
the
strength
strength
to fight back?
With
He
the
wanted to
thud,
attack
Lord
the
of the
underworld
underworld's face
crocodiles,
turned
then
ugly
black
when the
blood
mighty
out.
figures on the
In
third
Lin
prince's
Xian's
moment
eyes,
heard
they
this.
quickly formed
They
a
all
sea
had
of
strange
strange
expressions,
was completely
and the
drenched
large
in
tunnel
sweat.
ball of light
This was
appeared
because
once
it was
again.
those are the dark
This
demon
time,
crocodiles.
it was even larger
Even
than
though there was
before.
a black
It
stand
covered
below
the
him.
entire
Do you think
sky.
he had already
as if it was going to crush the world.
On the other side,
there are so many of them.
long.
Taoist
And
and
Lin Xian
netherworld
said in a
also
deep
shouted
voice,
had also
these
killed the
crocodiles
crocodiles
light
only in
their
their
bodies
infancy.
became
However,
monstrous.
they did
Although
not
they were
look too
ferocious,
good. Like a
they did not
expect
expect
that
to
had
extended
encountered
a wave of
I don't
mortal
believe
world.
that I
As soon
can't
as they
kill
this
them.
moment.
However,
These monsters are too strange.
We did not
send
their
fiery
fiery
red flood
and did
dragon
not
dare
dare
to
to
fight
fight
at
out
all.
of the sky.
That
And the
was
grand
on Lin
imperial
Xian's
also
body.
flickered.
The
Balls
royal
in the
alchemist
next
Mao
moment
twitched
when
when
he
he
heard
heard
Lin
Lin
Xian's
Xian's
words
spiritual
flashed
light
out.
as
This
he
young
scanned
man
his
instant
surroundings.
bolt. A destructive
Lin
voice
Xian
also
dared
attacked
to
the dark
beating
power
the
expressions
expressions
of the Lord
This
of
guy must
However,
be crazy.
the surrounding
Taoist
wild
master
man
had
had
a
an
certain
elite
degree
mighty
of
figure
vigor
had
had his
terrifying
head
sword
pierced
energy.
through.
Perhaps
Did he
this
this
was
was
also
also
the
the
reason
reason
why
that
just
because he
because
was
they were
the first
extremely
round
did not detect
some of
any
the older
older
generation
generation
surroundings.
heaven destroyers
Thinking
who
that
had
Lin
Lin
Xian
Xian
had
had
too instinct made Lin Xian
in the dark
canyon
the
first three
Lin
moves
Xian's
snorted
canyon
the primal
was
chaos
extremely
terrifying,
and
the others did not dare to terrifying. However,
if it hadn't for the
fact that the three of them were top-notch
coupled with the
experts,
power of the
underworld
dragon
would
sword
now would
soul,
have taken their
it
lives.
could be
They
said
worked
that
together.
at this moment
might be able to
Dao was
fight.
boom.
Long retracted
Tao
his
was
master
expected
Long
and
said in a
instant
deep
breath.
voice.
Lin
Let's
Xian
go.
chopped
Lord of
off
the
thousands
underworld
of careful.
leaves.
And
However,
then this
the
plays
problem
down
now is that
the
only
other
the
three
three
of
of
us
us
are
also
will
not
not
have
have
it directly on the dark
prince
after that.
and the others
Lin
don't dare to
Xian
fight at
and
all.
the other two moved
that's
her
the case.
no longer
again.
three of us
Indeed,
won't be able to
body
fight
the third
alone.
prince was
Lin
also
Xian's
swept into the
darkness
canyon.
floated in the
Their
void.
exits were
Lin
sealed,
Xian's eyes
and they
flickered.
don't
Not
worry,
get out
he
at
reached
all.
out his hand.
As long as the
Moreover,
three of us
they were
united,
swept by the
surrounded
green
by
dragon
them whether we
wind.
fight or not.
As a result,
This time,
they had completely
Lin Xian
entered
sent
the
a
dark
voice
canyon.
transmission to make
Taoist
matters
Master
worse.
Long,
The third
and
prince
the Lord
and
of
the
the
underworld
underworld
lost their
frowned.
way. What do you
They
want
also
to do?
realized that their
Force the
sole
battle.
power
Set
could
up
at
the array
most detect a
formation,
distance
block
of
the
5
way,
to 6 meters,
and drag the third
Therefore,
prince and the
they
others
could not
down.
determine their direction.
After all,
they came to the dark
they could
canyon
only
to look
identify
for
a direction
opportunities and move
not to be
forward
hunted
carefully.
down.
Crack.
All right, let's do it.
The ground under
the Lord
their
of
feet
the
was
underworld
black.
nodded. The group walked
Indeed,
carefully.
he was very
Suddenly,
unhappy that
the
they had
sound
been
of a
hunted
stone
down
shattering
for so
was
long.
heard. Moreover, The ones chasing
Chapter
after them were 5
21:19.
small crocodiles.
The next moment,
He extended
Taoist
his hand
Master
and
Long
sucked a
also
black
agreed.
stone up. He sent
Suddenly,
a voice transmission.
his eyes widened.
I happen to have
And
a
then a
set
hint
of
of
array
excitement
formations
burst
that
out
can
in his
isolate
eyes.
space. Obsidian,
Since
that's
that's the
obsidian.
case,
Let's fight. Obsidian. Hearing that, the surrounding king mighty figures all turned their heads. When they saw the black
Chapter
stone,
21:25.
they sucked in a breath of cold
At the same
air.
time,
Obsidian
the Lord
was a
of the
very
Underworld
precious
yelled
metal.
and two
It
purplish
was a
black
top-grade
wings
material
appeared on
for
his
making
back,
weapons.
covering the sky.
That mighty figure
Taoist
did not
Master
expect
Long
to
was
find
even
a
more
piece of
direct.
obsidian there.
He raised his
the
hand
other's eyes
and
were
formed
also
a formation
burning,
that
and they
completely
even
sealed
began to
off
look
the area.
around. There's another piece
Seeing
over
this,
there. The third
sure
prince
enough,
and the others
at that
were stunned.
moment,
What
another
are the
mighty
three of them
figure
trying to
discovered
do?
a piece of
They were not the
obsidian
only ones.
lying on the hill
The
in
elders
front
of the
him.
royal family in the
Immediately,
Grand Imperial
he
Hall
stomped
were
his
also
foot
stunned
and turned
They
into
were going
a
to
bolt
start
of
a war
lightning
as he rushed
However,
over. They
Buzz,
did not know if they
soon
were
he
going to
arrived
start
at
a
the hill
war
and
with the
sucked
third
with his
prince,
palm,
or the
Haha,
dark
it's
demonic
really
crocodiles
obsidian.
behind them.
When he grabbed the
Damn
black
it, what are
stone,
you trying to
the
do?
mighty figure
A
looked
mighty
up and
figure
laughed
on the
loudly.
third prince's
She was
side roared
overjoyed.
furiously.
Too overjoyed.
They were indeed shocked.
He originally
because
thought
they were
that coming
already
to Dark
enemies
Canyon
with the
was a
eighth
very
prince
dangerous
and the
thing.
others.
And
However,
he might not even be
they
able
did
to
not
get
expect
out.
the other party
However,
to suddenly
he did not
attack.
expect to
Were
find
they
an
not afraid
obsidian.
of being killed
He was
by the
very
black
happy
crocodiles
and turned around
However,
to return the way he
sneered.
came.
What are
However,
we doing?
at that
Of
moment,
course,
two black
we're going
rays
to
of
work
light
together
suddenly appeared
and
under
kill
his
the
feet,
dark demonic
like black
crocodiles.
long swords.
Since
They
you're not going to
instantly
pierce
pierced
the
through his
initiative,
body.
don't
No,
blame us for
the
taking
mighty
action.
figure's eyes widened in fear.
Are you really going
he felt
to
that
attack
the
the dark
vitality in
demonic
his body was
crocodiles?
rapidly draining
After
away.
hearing this,
He wanted
the
to
third
resist
prince's
and
expression
struggle.
changed
However,
drastically.
he could not
He was
do it
about
at
to
all.
go crazy.
In the end,
Bastard,
the
if you
light
want
in
to
his
attack,
eyes disappeared,
do it yourself.
and his
Don't
body
drag
fell
me
to
down
the ground
with
with
you.
a plop.
To be honest,
Clang,
he was extremely
clang,
angry.
Clang.
He had
The
experienced
obsidian
the
in his
strength
hand
of the
kept
dark
rolling
demonic
on the ground,
crocodiles,
making clanging
Each of them was
sounds.
extremely terrifying.
Finally, it fell to the side.
They were definitely
not far
extremely
away.
terrifying
The
monster
third
kings.
prince and the others
He did
were
not
stunned.
dare to face them
Their eyes
because
were
if he
filled
was
with
not
fear,
careful,
as if they had
he
seen
would
a
die.
ghost, or
What's
lose
going
the
on?
chance to become
How
the
did a
crown
mighty
prince.
figure get
He
killed
did
in
not
an
want to
instant?
take such a risk.
What happened to him?
However,
To be
now
honest,
that Lin
they did
Xian
not
was
care at
forcing
all.
him to do
They
such a
did not
thing.
expect
How
that the
could he
mighty
not be
figure
angry?
would be killed.
Therefore,
Their
at the
gazes
next
were all
moment,
focused on
he
the
shouted
obsidian.
coldly, and a
Damn it.
murderous intent
Oh no,
appeared
there's
in
danger.
his eyes.
The
Then
third
he
prince
struck
was
out
the
with
first
his
to
palm.
react.
Suddenly,
He roared
a
angrily,
terrifying
and the
palm
sound
covered the
waves
sky
surged
and
in
the
the
earth
earth
as
as
it
it
rushed
rushed
forward. The
Bang.
mighty figures
Lin
around him
Xian,
also
on
came
the other
back to their
hand,
senses,
threw a punch,
and they were
His
all sweating
terrifying
profusely.
fist landed on the
Boom.
palm.
Boom.
Instantly,
In the next
with the
moment,
two of them as
armor
the center,
appeared on their bodies,
a terrifying
and their
energy
king's
wave
domains
spread in all
exploded
directions,
out, covering
countless
the sky.
sparks flew
Then,
in all directions,
everyone's eyes
and
were
pierced
fixed
through
on
the
the
front.
void.
The
However,
attack caused
when
the
they
third
tried to
prince to take a
investigate,
few steps back.
the black wind
The
around
team
them
that he
became
was
even
in had
colder,
completely stopped,
as if it wanted
Damn
to
it.
blow away their
I
souls.
miscalculated.
At this
The
moment,
third prince's
a series
expression
of cracking
changed.
sounds came
Originally,
from the corpse of the
he wanted
Almighty.
to force the other
it even
party
began to
retreat
tremble slightly
and break through
what
the
was going on?
encirclement.
Everyone
However,
was stunned.
he did not
Could it
expect
be that
his
the corpse
opponent
had
to
come
be
back
so
to
strong
life
that he was
the
able to
third
block his
prince's
attack?
gaze was also
In this
extremely
moment of
solemn.
delay,
The aura
five
of the
black
way of the
crocodiles
dragon
and
circled
fishes
around his
behind had
body,
all rushed over,
making him look
in the blink of an
extraordinarily
eye.
mighty.
Those
However,
crocodiles
his
came
gaze
to their
was
side,
extremely solemn,
emitting monstrous
this was because
demonic
this
chi.
place was too
That
strange.
aura,
They all
he
felt
had never
their
been
hair
here
stand
before.
on end.
Moreover,
Damn it, attack.
there was no information
the
on
third
his
prince roared,
palm, and
he
he
could
could
only
only
rely
rely
on
on
himself
himself
to figure things
forming
out.
a terrifying
However,
cage
the
that locked down
situation
the
in
area.
front of him was too
At the same
strange.
time,
The
the
mighty figures
third
around him
prince
let
let
out
out
a
a
quickly
cold harumph.
counterattacked. With a wave
Facing
of his
these
hand,
terrifying
a
black
giant palm
crocodiles,
emitting a
they
red
didn't
glow
dare
was
to be
slapped
careless.
forward.
On
It
the other
directly
side,
enveloped
Lin
the
Xian
corpse of
also
the mighty
sneered.
figure in front.
The dragon sword
Boom.
domain rushed
In
out,
the next moment,
forming a
the
true
mighty
dragon,
figure's corpse was
contending
smashed
against
into
all
pieces.
sides.
However,
Taoist dragon
everyone
and
was
Lord of
stunned
the
because they
Underworld
discovered
also
that there
acted
were a
quickly.
few small
In
black
an instant,
lizards
a great
inside
battle
the
broke
Supreme
out.
Expert's corpse.
Terrifying energy
They were
flooded the
quickly
entire
eating the
space.
flesh and blood of
In
the
the
mighty
Grand
figure.
Imperial
royal hall.
What kind of
The
monster
royal
was
elders
that?
were extremely
Everyone
shocked
gasped
when they saw this
It was
scene.
eating the corpse
Heavens,
of a
this
mighty
brat
figure.
actually attacked
That
the
was
dark
too
demonic
terrifying,
crocodile.
wasn't it?
Crazy.
Crack.
This was
At
too
this
crazy.
moment, the
They
head
were
of the
too
mighty
shocked
figure
because they
suddenly
didn't
moved.
think that Lin Xian's ultimate goal was to drag the third prince along so that they could kill the dark demonic crocodiles together. However, could they really succeed? These dark demonic crocodiles were passed down from the primordial beasts. They were extremely terrifying. If they couldn't resist them, they would be killed. Among those people, only the third prince had a life-saving method. He could teleport back if his life was threatened. The others didn't have such a life-saving method. In other words, if they couldn't resist the crocodiles, they would be killed. It could be said that this was a huge gamble, a gamble with their lives as the price. However, at that moment, the royal elders at the front narrowed their eyes. The emperor's eyes flickered. This young man was quite interesting. Hearing that, the empress was also surprised. She had been with the emperor for more than 1,000 years. She rarely saw the emperor praise someone. However, the emperor was actually so interested in an unfamiliar young man that made her feel uneasy. That young man was invited by the 8th prince. Could it be that the emperor praised the 8th prince? However, at that moment the emperor spoke again. The 3rd prince usually had a lot of schemes, but he lacked courage at critical moments. Hearing that, the royal elders fell silent. They couldn't refute that. Indeed, even someone like Lin Xian, who wasn't a prince and didn't have any trump cards, dared to risk his life. The 3rd prince had a life-saving talisman, but he didn't dare to fight. He indeed lacked courage. However, the royal elders on the 3rd prince's side didn't think so. They felt that it was normal for the 3rd prince to not fight. After all, he was going to become the crown prince. Why would he take such a risk? However, no matter what, they didn't dare to go against the emperor. In the dark canyon, the battle was unusually intense. Lin Xian's side had twice the number of dark demonic crocodiles, so it was 2 against 1. Even so, those ferocious dark demonic crocodiles weren't at a disadvantage. It was indeed shocking. Buzz! At that moment, a dark demonic crocodile turned into a divine light and instantly pierced through the void, flying towards Lin Xian. Its target was Lin Xian's head. Seeing this scene, many people exclaimed, whether it was the mighty figures fighting or the royal elders of the Grand Imperial Hall, they were all shocked. That was because such an attack was too dangerous. Last time, an elite mighty figure's head had been directly pierced through. Would Lin Xian be able to withstand it this time? Seeing this scene, Lin Xian's pupils constricted, but then he snorted coldly. In the next moment he sneered. Scram! Boom! Boom! His voice was like a thunderclap. Immediately, the sound wave turned into a sharp sword and spread out in all directions. The sky was instantly torn apart like a piece of cloth. With a roar, heaven and earth collapsed. The dark demonic crocodile was also affected. Sparks flew from its body because countless sound waves were like sword chi that ruthlessly blasted its body. This was because it was an Archean ferocious beast, whose defense was incomparably terrifying and comparable to top-notch armor. That was why it was able to withstand the attack. If it was any other monster king, it would have been pierced through in an instant. Even so, Lin Xian's sound wave contained the power of the great dragon sword soul, and was extremely terrifying. Therefore, the dark demonic crocodile was directly sent flying. What? It was actually sent flying. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. The elders of the royal family and the mighty figures around the 3rd prince were all stunned. Chapter 21-26. Previously, they had seen with their own eyes that the dark crocodile pierced through an elite powerhouse. However, the same move had failed in the hands of a young man. This was too terrifying. Could it be that this kid's combat strength was even more terrifying than a top powerhouse? Everyone was shocked. This was only a 6-star king. Was this the strength of a young genius? Not to mention them, even Taoist Master Long and the Lord of the Underworld were shocked. Although they had fought alongside Lin Xian before, they realized that Lin Xian's combat strength was even stronger than before. No way. Could it be that this kid had been hiding his strength before? The two of them were shocked. Lin Xian's face was also a little pale. It was too dangerous just now. The dark crocodile was blasted a few thousand meters away. Then it stopped moving. Its scarlet eyes were burning with anger. Then, it roared and once again turned into a bolt of thunder and charged over. It was also extremely angry. A puny human had actually blasted it away with a sound wave. This ignited the anger in its heart and made it fierce. Therefore it charged over again. This was not good. This dark crocodile had gone crazy. When the 3rd prince saw this, he quickly distanced himself. God knew how terrifying a crazy dark crocodile would be. Buzz! Facing the charging dark crocodile, Lin Xian also made his move. He was very decisive and slashed down with his sword. The terrifying sword light was like a black mountain that directly pressed down. The void in front of it was instantly shattered. However, the dark crocodile did not dodge. It directly cut through the void like a sharp sword. It cut through the terrifying sword chi and quickly charged over. Clang! In the next moment, it collided with the 9 darkness demonic sword and made a shocking sound. The surrounding space shattered. The powerhouses who were fighting also turned pale and quickly sealed their hearing. It was too terrifying. This kind of battle was too terrifying. It was beyond their imagination. Lin Xian's face also changed because he felt an extremely terrifying force pouring into his arm through the sword. It wanted to tear his body apart. Was this an Archean beast? So strong indeed. Lin Xian was shocked. Although the other party was only a child, the strength he displayed was too terrifying. Ordinary elite almighties couldn't compare at all. Humph. But soon, he snorted coldly and activated the great dragon sword soul in his body to shatter the force. Then he swung his sword again. Boom! Boom! The surrounding area exploded in an instant, and many people retreated one after another. This was because the two of them seemed to have gone crazy. The aftermath of this energy made them shudder with fear. As if infected by the two of them, the remaining 4 small black crocodiles also seemed to become manic. Not good. The third prince's expression changed. Daoist Long also let out an angry roar. Hurry up. Don't hesitate anymore. Let's join forces and kill him. Otherwise, there will be no way for us to survive. Kill. Furious roars rang out one after another. These people also understood that the only way to survive now was to join hands. Therefore, they no longer had any other thoughts, and decided to work together to kill these black crocodiles. Let's talk about the future in the future. A great battle erupted. Terrifying radiance filled heaven and earth, tearing apart the void. When the elders of the Grand Imperial Hall saw this scene, they all fell silent. This was probably the first time a human dared to directly attack an immemorial beast. On the other side, Lin Xian was also furious. Countless streaks of black sword chi swept out like streaks of black lightning, quickly slashing forward. As for the black crocodile, it was like a hard turtle shell. It relied on its own body to resist the terrifying sword chi. Every collision caused the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. 5 bolts of lightning. Lin Xian swung his sword. Immediately, the sky was filled with intertwining thunder and lightning. The terrifying power of lightning erupted and descended crazily. Boom! 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 In an instant, the surroundings were completely drowned in lightning, filled with violent power. The black crocodile was wrapped in countless bolts of lightning, and then a huge explosion occurred. Immediately, the crocodile was sent flying again. Its body was charred black. However, its scales were not cut open. It was just a small shock to him. Seeing this scene, the elders of the royal family exclaimed. Although they were not present personally, they could tell how terrifying the black crocodile was just by looking at the light screen. Roar! The black crocodile was completely enraged. It could not tolerate being sent flying twice by a human youth. It was an immemorial beast. A peerless ferocious beast. How could it allow a human to be so arrogant? Therefore, in the next moment, it charged over crazily. A streak of black lightning flashed, cutting all the energy apart, and then fiercely blasted Lin Xian's body. Buzz! Immediately, the figure was directly smashed into pieces. What? Was it killed? Seeing this scene, Daoist Long and the others were shocked. The elders of the royal family also exclaimed. However, they were soon stunned, because they realized that although the figure was smashed into pieces, there was no blood spurting out. Clearly, he wasn't really killed. It was an afterimage. A royal family elder said coldly. The others were even more shocked. Heavens, this kid is too fast. He's even faster than the black crocodile. What movement technique did he master? Daoist Long and the others also realized that it was an afterimage, and immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Then, they stopped paying attention and focused on fighting the remaining 4 crocodiles. That's right, it was indeed an afterimage. Lin Xian used the heavenly dragon's 8 steps, and his speed reached an unbelievable level. His current speed was almost comparable to a peerless almighty. Therefore, in the face of the terrifying attack just now, he narrowly dodged it. However, the black crocodile did not intend to stop. The killing intent in its scarlet eyes became even stronger. Although its body was small, the aura it emitted at this moment was too terrifying. It was like a peerless demon king. Sure enough, in the next moment, the demonic aura on his body swept out and immediately formed an incomparably huge crocodile shadow above him. It soared into the sky and directly broke through the entire world. The huge body bobbed up and down, and the black scales were lifelike as if a real immemorial beast had been resurrected. Boom! Then, the black crocodile swung its tail, and the huge crocodile shadow let out a roar and quickly charged towards Lin Xian. Boom! 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 The sky collapsed, and the terrifying crocodile shadow soared into the sky. Every scale was lifelike. As if it was made of immortal gold, it was surrounded by a murderous aura. Damn it, this is the power of my bloodline. How terrifying. When the royal family elders saw this scene through the light screen, they all gasped. Chapter 21-27. They had to admit that the opponent's bloodline power was too powerful. It was far beyond that of a human. Would this brat be able to withstand it? It would be difficult, unless he also had a heaven-defying bloodline power, or a heaven-defying cultivation technique. Otherwise, he would not have a chance at all. It would be good enough if he could protect himself. Perhaps it would not be long before he was killed. These people did not think highly of Lin Xian, because the dark demonic crocodile's reputation was too strong. Moreover, the crocodile in front of them displayed a heaven-defying bloodline power that shocked the royal elders. Lin Xian also felt a great pressure. The huge shadow pressed down on him like 100,000 mountains, causing the blood in his body to freeze. However, he snorted coldly. The great dragon sword mark in his body quickly circulated and eliminated the pressure brought by the bloodline. Then, he waved the long sword in his hand. Buzz! Buzz! Chaotic Heaven Destroyer Sword. Streams of terrifying sword chi slashed down mercilessly, like the beginning of the universe. In the next moment, the chaotic sword chi collided with the crocodile shadow. A thunderous sound was heard, followed by an earth-shattering explosion of energy that swept out in all directions. He blocked it, he actually blocked it. Heavens, what sword technique is he using? How can he block the bloodline power of an Archean beast? These people went crazy. They did not expect Lin Xian to be able to block it. The sword technique was too powerful. Could it be a heaven-class cultivation technique? Some royal elders frowned. It can't be. A heaven-class cultivation technique was extremely rare. How could this kid have one? They did not know, but other than that, there was no other explanation. Everyone looked at the screen and swallowed their saliva. They realized that the battle prowess that Lin Xian had displayed was beyond their expectations. Roar! The dark demonic crocodile also roared. It did not expect a human to be able to resist its bloodline power, which made it furious. So in the next moment, it launched another attack. After a roar, the huge dark demonic crocodile shadow above it also let out an earth-shattering roar. Countless layers of clouds scattered, and the terrifying spatial crack extended for an unknown distance. This sound was simply too terrifying. It shattered the world and tore the void apart. Then in the terrifying sky, a huge black crocodile, as if it had been resurrected from ancient times, charged down rapidly. This scene was simply too terrifying. It was as if a comet had crashed into the earth. The mountains, rivers, and forests below were all collapsing. He simply couldn't withstand this power. Seeing this, Lin Xian let out a cold snort, and the great dragon sword soul in his body began to circulate madly. At the same time, he once again unleashed his chaotic sword chi. The chaotic sword chi intertwined with each other and quickly slashed towards the sky. Instantly, the void shattered completely. Lin Xian retreated several thousand meters, his face pale. On the other side, the gigantic ancient silhouette was also blocked. In fact, there was even a crack on it. What? He cut open the ancient phantom. How did he do it? These people were all crazy. This was completely beyond their understanding. The black crocodile was also furious. Its body was trembling. Because the ancient phantom had been slashed apart, it had also caused him a certain amount of damage. Its red eyes were filled with malice as it stared fixedly at Lin Xian. At that moment, the dark red dragon sent a voice transmission. "Kid, bring him in. I have a way to deal with him." This was a real ancient beast. Its entire body was a treasure. Hearing the dark red dragon's words, Lin Xian also sent a voice transmission. "Leave the demonic soul for me. I have a use for it." Then, he took a step forward, and the aura of the great dragon sword soul erupted from his body again. In fact, a dragon-shaped phantom appeared from his body. Seeing this scene, the pupils of the royal family elders constricted. They were extremely shocked. That was the aura of the path of the dragon. Could he be a member of the royal family? They were too shocked, because only the imperial family could achieve this kind of true dragon blessing. But now, the young man in front of them had actually done it. What was going on? Could it be that he was really a member of the royal family? Impossible. He's definitely not from the royal family. Could it be that he's from another dynasty? These people all frowned. However, at that moment, the eyes of the older generation experts were solemn. It was as if a knife had pierced through the void. Although it's also the aura of the Tao of Dragon, it should be different from that of the royal family. This kid must have some kind of secret technique. Indeed, it has nothing to do with our dragon vein. At that moment, the emperor also spoke. Hearing this, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it had nothing to do with him. If it did, they would probably go crazy. The third prince, and the others were also shocked. They did not expect the Azure Dragon Phantom to appear on Lin Xian's body. It was indeed very surprising. The aura on Lin Xian's body made the black crocodile tremble uneasily. In the next moment, the dark demonic crocodile roared angrily and charged forward with the terrifying ancient phantom. The Azure Dragon Phantom on Lin Xian's body soared into the sky and turned into the Dragon Sword realm, slashing in all directions. It collided with the terrifying ancient phantom. In the sky, the Azure Dragon Phantom and the Crocodile Phantom were constantly fighting. A terrifying aura exploded in an instant, and the heaven and earth went berserk. Endless light and endless figures were rolling in every corner of the void. They were like stars colliding with each other. Buzz! Everything around them was annihilated. No one could see the figures of Lin Xian and the black crocodile clearly. At that moment, a ball of golden light appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. Suddenly, mysterious runes appeared in his eyes one after another. Heavenly secret divine eyes floating light. Buzz! A terrifying eye technique was used. The black crocodile was suddenly attacked, and its body stiffened. Then it let out a crazy roar. The sound waves turned into sharp swords and pierced through the void, causing great destruction in the sky. It was too terrifying. Everyone's scalps went numb. Everyone was extremely shocked. Damn it! What the hell was going on? They all looked forward, wanting to see clearly. However, there was a vast ocean and endless light. It was like an exploding sun. They could not see clearly at all. Those Imperial clan elders were also extremely shocked. They also wanted to see clearly, but they were watching from the outside through the light screen. They were not at the scene in person, so they could not see clearly. If they were at the scene in person, they might be able to see clearly with their powerful strength. But now there was nothing they could do. However, in the endless light, Lin Xian shouted coldly. The great dragon sword soul appeared in his hand and turned into an azure dragon. It slapped forward. In an instant, it hit the black crocodile's body and knocked it to the ground. That palm was too terrifying. The power of the great dragon sword soul completely erupted. Immediately, the black crocodile's back was torn apart and blood spurted out. Roar! Chapter 21-28. However, Lin Xian only sneered and used the floating light in his eyes again. The black crocodile's soul was attacked and became restless again. It trembled violently. However, Lin Xian's palm was like a mountain as it slammed down mercilessly. After more than a dozen slaps, the black crocodile's skin and flesh were torn open. Even its bones were exposed. Although it was powerful, it was no match for the dragon sword soul. Seeing that the black crocodile was severely injured and its soul was attacked, Lin Xian sneered. He knew it was enough, So he threw the black crocodile into the black earth. He was not worried. With the strength of the dark red divine dragon, it was enough to deal with a severely injured black crocodile. The moment the black crocodile entered the black earth, its aura disappeared. The terrifying primordial shadow above also turned into countless rays of light and scattered. What happened? Could it be that the black crocodile was killed? Seeing this scene, everyone was extremely shocked. The expressions of Taoist Long, the Lord of the Underworld, the Third Prince, and the royal elders changed drastically. They could no longer sense the black crocodile's aura. Roar! 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 At the same time, the other 4 black crocodiles also sensed that, and became restless. They roared at the sky, and a terrifying aura formed on their bodies. It directly slashed the sun like light in front of them. Then, Lin Xian's figure appeared. Lin Xian's face was a little pale, but he was not injured. However, there was a pool of blood around him. Every drop of blood was bright red and crystal clear. In the void, terrifying cracks appeared one after another. Obviously, that was not ordinary blood, but primordial blood. Only this kind of bloodline power, which was very vigorous, could cause the void to be unable to withstand it. That was the black crocodile's blood. The black crocodile was injured? Heavens, how did he do it? Everyone was stunned. Such a terrifying black crocodile's body was comparable to immortal gold. It was a top treasure. It could not be defeated at all. How did the other party cut through its defense? Moreover, the more terrifying question was, where was the black crocodile? They looked around, but did not find the black crocodile. Had it been smashed into powder? Impossible. Even if the other party could cut through its defense, he could not have smashed it into powder. That was an immemorial demonic beast. But where did that black crocodile go? They could not understand. They really didn't understand. Not to mention these people. Even the royal elders didn't understand. This was completely beyond their understanding. Therefore, someone directly asked, "Kid, where is the black crocodile?" "That's right, you didn't kill him, did you?" The Netherworld King also had a confused look on his face. Everyone looked at Lin Xian. Lin Xian shrugged. "I don't have that kind of power yet, but I shattered the void and connected to a void, banishing him." "What? Banished?" Hearing those words, everyone widened their eyes in shock and disbelief. When the elders of the royal family heard this, they were all stunned. How could I not believe it? Could this brat be lying? It's very possible. I also think it's very suspicious. Even I don't have that ability. However, there were also some elders who frowned. That might not be the case. Perhaps this kid had a special cultivation technique. Don't forget that the Eastern Wasteland's Gu family has this kind of terrifying ability. However, this kid was not from the Gu family. Could it be that he was related to the Gu family in some way? Sounds of discussion could be heard. Obviously, everyone was very shocked. However, they did not know that Lin Xian did not send that thing into the void. Instead, he kept it in his black earth. Of course, he would not tell those people about that. Meanwhile, the third prince and the others did not have much time to be suspicious. That was because the other 4 black crocodiles had charged over again. Not only that, but the 4 crocodiles seemed to have gone crazy. That was because one of their companions had disappeared. Moreover, the blood floating in the void had provoked them even more. Roar! 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 The 4 black crocodiles roared furiously. Then, the 4 black crocodiles activated the power of their bloodlines, as if they had gone crazy. Immediately, many immemorial silhouettes appeared in the sky. "Oh no, these animals are going crazy," the third prince shouted coldly when he saw that. Taoist Master Long and the Netherworld King's expressions changed drastically. They had seen the power of the immemorial silhouettes. That was extremely terrifying. At that moment, they were not very confident that they could defeat the 4 crocodiles at the same time. Lin Xian's expression was also solemn. To be honest, he also wanted to get a black demonic crocodile. That was because it was an immemorial beast, and its entire body was a treasure. However, he probably did not have the chance now. The 4 crocodiles acted together, and did not give him a chance at all. He might be able to fight against one of them, but he really could not defeat 4 of them. Therefore, in the next moment he said in a deep voice, "Taoist Master Long, hurry up and trap them with your formation. Let's leave." As long as we have some time, we can quickly get rid of them. All right. Taoist Master Long also nodded. Indeed, it would not be beneficial for the black crocodiles to continue fighting. Therefore, he formed a hand seal with his palm. Immediately, the formation that covered a radius of 10,000 miles shook rapidly. Then, it quickly shrank and covered a radius of 100 miles. Taoist Master Long and the others soared into the sky and quickly left. Follow them. When the third prince and the others saw that, they sped up and followed closely behind Taoist Master Long and the other two. They did not want to stay there, because with their strength alone, they could not fight against the remaining 4 black crocodiles. In an instant, everyone left the formation. Meanwhile, the formation emitted light and formed a cage that completely imprisoned the 4 crocodiles. Boom, boom, boom. Behind them, the 4 black crocodiles crazily crashed into the formation, making earth-shattering sounds. Taoist Master Long's expression was solemn when he saw that. He said in a deep voice, "Hurry up and run. My formation will probably only last for 10 seconds. What? Only 10 seconds? Many people felt their scalps go numb when they heard that. However, they could not care less now. They had to use their fastest speed within 10 seconds to completely get rid of those guys. Boom! The third prince roared, and the aura of the Path of Dragon quickly appeared on his body. Then, it turned into a true dragon that enveloped him and the people around him. As for the almighties around him, they also sent out streams of energy into the aura of the Tao of Dragon. Immediately, the true dragon's shadow continued to expand until it was 100 feet tall. Then, with a swing of its tail, it tore through the void and disappeared. Damn, the third prince is too shameless. He actually used the aura of the Path of Dragon. He's not taking us with him. When the Lord of the Underworld saw that, his face turned green. That guy is running too fast. If this continued, they would be the unlucky ones. As for the Golden Lion King, it grabbed his corpse and quickly descended. It seemed that it wanted to find out the secret of the immemorial beasts. No one knew about this matter, because of the 3 forces that entered the Dark Canyon. Other than Lin Xian, the third prince was on the other side. The only one left was the Golden Lion King. During the battle, there was no one around the Golden Lion King. The elders of the imperial family could only see the area where the third prince was. Therefore, they did not know what the Golden Lion King was doing. On the other side, Lin Xian and the other 2 left the dangerous place. When they discovered that the black crocodiles did not chase after them, the 3 of them heaved a sigh of relief. Great, they were finally safe. The 3 of them landed in a forest below. Taoist Long said, "We've been fighting and chasing for the past few days. I'm afraid we've consumed a lot of energy. In addition to the previous battle, we don't have much spiritual energy left in our bodies. Therefore, it's better for us to rest and recover to our peak condition first." Lin Xian and the Netherworld King agreed. Then, Taoist Long set up some formations to form a defense. The 3 of them sat down cross-legged to recover. Lin Xian closed his eyes and his soul entered the black earth. He asked, "How is it, Ruffian Dragon? Did you succeed?" "What a joke! How could I not succeed?" The dark red dragon said with a smile. Then he pointed to the side. There was a formation there, and the black crocodile was lying in the formation. However, at this moment it was no longer breathing. Not only that, the formation that the dark red dragon had set up was very mysterious. The blood of the black crocodile had completely flowed out of the formation. However, it did not flow out. Instead, it gathered together under the effect of the formation. This is the primordial demon blood. It contains the bloodline power of the dark demon crocodile. Although we can't absorb it, we can use this blood to nourish our bodies. The dark red dragon said, "Kid, you can use the blood too. However, I don't think you're interested in the meat. Leave it to me." Alright, Lin Xian was not interested in eating crocodile meat either. Therefore he asked again, "You didn't lose the demon soul, right? I have a use for it." "Don't worry, I left it for you," the dark red dragon said with a smile. He waved his dragon claw and took out a small black flag. The small flag was half a meter tall. and there was a picture of a ferocious skull on it. This was a soul summoning flag. It was used to store demon souls. At this moment, the dark demon crocodile's demon soul was inside. Great! Lin Xian was overjoyed. With the primordial demon soul, the power of the demon-slaying sword formation would definitely increase by another level. This was because the demon-slaying sword formation was formed by using the demon souls of various demon beasts. The stronger the demon soul, the more powerful the murderous aura would be. The dark demon crocodile was a primordial demon beast. With its demon soul, the demon-slaying sword formation would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. Chapter 2130. It's with me. The dark red divine dragon opened its mouth and spat out 2 hearts of darkness. However, the hearts of darkness were slightly different. There was still a black aura surrounding them. That was the aura of death. However, most of it had been removed. It seemed that it would not take long for the aura of death to be completely removed. Alright, you can continue, Lin Xian said. Just leave me a heart of death and a portion of the immemorial demonic blood. You and Xiaobai can split the rest. With that, Lin Xian exited the black earth. However, a black spirit summoning banner appeared in his hand. Lin Xian took a deep breath as he held the black spirit summoning banner. He did not use it immediately. Instead, he put it away. In the next moment, he began to recover his lost energy. After half a day, he was back to his peak state. Then he stood up and said, "Gentlemen, I have some enlightenment from the previous battle. Now I would like to go and practice my skills. Give me a day. After a day, we will meet again here." With that, Lin Xian shot up into the sky and disappeared into the forest. He wanted to refine the demon-slaying sword formation. Naturally, he could not do it in front of Taoist Long and the Lord of the Underworld. He had to find a place where no one was around and set it up properly. After flying at a high speed, Lin Xian made sure that it was safe. Then he landed in a valley. He raised his hand and set up countless formations to form a safe defense. Then blood-red runes flashed under his feet and formed a blood-red sword diagram that emitted a monstrous aura of the blood sea. Lin Xian waved his hand and took out the spirit summoning banner again. Then, he waved his hand, and the spirit summoning banner swayed gently, emitting a black aura. Then, a dark demonic crocodile demon soul appeared. This demon soul was extremely ferocious. As soon as it appeared, it charged towards Lin Xian crazily. Whoosh! Between heaven and earth a strong wind blew. A terrifying demonic aura swept across the surroundings and tore the void apart. Although it did not have a physical body, the demon soul was still extremely terrifying. After all, it was the demon soul of an immemorial demon beast. Humph! Lin Xian snorted. The dragon's fright soul in his body rushed out and turned into a green dragon that charged towards the demon soul. Then, the dark crocodile's demon soul trembled and was knocked to the ground, rolling nonstop. Although he was strong, how could he be stronger than the great dragon sword spirit? Therefore, he could not resist Lin Xian at all. Lin Xian waved his hand. Instantly, countless blood-red sword tattoos vibrated rapidly. Then, streaks of blood-red sword chi turned into red ribbons and firmly locked onto the immemorial demon soul. Refine! Lin Xian snorted and sat down cross-legged. On his body, countless sword chi and the demon-slaying sword formation merged into one as they began to completely refine the immemorial demon soul. One day later, Lin Xian opened his eyes and a smile appeared on his face. After a day and night of continuous cultivation, he finally completely refined the immemorial demon soul. As expected, the raging beast soul was gone. It had merged with the demon-slaying sword formation. It disappeared. With a wave of his hand, the sword chi in the air swiftly intertwined with one another to form a massive silhouette of an ancient beast. It was a black crocodile. Its body was so huge that it could crush the void like a black mountain. There was a terrifying murderous aura on his body. Success! Looking at this scene, Lin Xian's lips curled into a grin. He had finally succeeded in cultivating the primordial demon soul. Its power was twice as strong as before. If he were to unleash the immemorial demon soul, even an elite mighty figure would not be able to withstand it. Lin Xian's strength increased again. Then, without further delay, he put away the soul demon sword formation and soared into the sky, heading back the way he came. Soon, he met up with Taoist Long and the Lord of the Underworld. "Kid, where did you go? Why are you so mysterious?" The Lord of Humor was confused. Lin Xian smiled and did not say anything. Then he said, "Where are we going now? Let's continue. Now that 5 days have passed, we still have half the time," Taoist Long said in a deep voice. "As for the third prince, let's not bother about them. This place is too big. It would be difficult to find them alone. Let's see what treasures there are around." "Okay." Lin Xian and the Lord of the Underworld nodded in agreement. To be honest, they were not very interested in chasing after the third prince. Then the three of them set off. However, the heavens loved to joke around. They did not deliberately look for the third prince. But after half a day, they still met the third prince and his group. Lin Xian had a strange expression when he saw the third prince. Taoist Long and the Lord of the Underworld also had unnatural expressions. They really did not want to look for the third prince, but they still met the third prince and his group. When they saw Lin Xian and the other two, the third prince's group looked gloomy, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. The third prince even snorted coldly. You guys are really persistent. But if you want to fight, come at me." Without the threat of the black crocodile, the third prince and his group became arrogant again. He still had more people around him than Lin Xian and the other two, so he was not afraid if they really fought. "Are you very powerful? Why didn't you dare to fart when you were fighting against the black crocodile?" Lin Xian rolled his eyes and sneered. On the other hand, Taoist Long and the Lord of the Underworld looked solemn. Although they came in to find the third prince's whereabouts, they did not have full confidence if they really fought. The third prince's group did not have full confidence either. And to be honest, they were not willing to fight. After all, this was the Dark Canyon. There was no danger now. But it did not mean that there would be no danger later. As expected, an old man on the third prince's side stood out. He was an old man in a red robe and had a strong aura. He said in a deep voice, "Everyone, why don't we join forces? We found a cave in front of us, and I think it should be a historical site. This is the historical site of the Dark Canyon. I don't need to tell you how many treasures there are inside, but you can imagine how difficult it is. The monsters outside are already so terrifying. Who knows if there are even more terrifying creatures inside? I think we should join forces. As for the battle, it won't be too late to fight to the death after we get out of the Dark Canyon." Taoist Long's eyes flickered when he heard that. "What do you think?" He looked at Lin Xian and the Lord of the Underworld. Lin Xian shrugged. The Lord of the Underworld also sighed. All right. Although he didn't have any secret methods, he was the Lord of Darkness. In the Dark Canyon, his combat power was enhanced. Therefore, seeing that Lin Xian and Taoist Long had agreed, he had no choice but to agree. It seems that you're overconfident." The third prince sneered. "Do you really think that you can do whatever you want just because you can fight against the dark demon crocodile?" Indeed, the other party had made a dark demon crocodile disappear, which was shocking. However, that didn't mean that the other party was truly powerful. If they really fought for the treasures, the third prince was certain that they would have an absolute advantage. Thinking of this, the third prince sneered. "Since we'll fight for it with our own abilities, then so be it. However, don't cry when the time comes. You don't have to worry about that." The Lord of the Underworld snorted coldly, while Lin Xian directly ignored the third prince and the others. Since they had already decided to fight each other, he wouldn't give up this good opportunity. In the next moment, he looked at the few herbs in front of him. As an alchemist, Lin Xian had a huge need for herbs. Moreover, he could tell at a glance that the herbs in front of him definitely had extraordinary origins. They couldn't be found outside at all. Thinking of this, he strode forward. "Kid, you're courting death." When the third prince saw Lin Xian swaggering towards the front, intending to pick the spiritual herbs, he was shocked. He was immediately displeased. What a joke. Can't you see that there are so many elite mighty figures here? How can a kid behave so atrociously here? One of the mighty figures was displeased. He sneered, reached out his palm, and grabbed in front of him. He seemed to be attacking Lin Xian, but he also seemed to be picking the herbs. It could be said that the threat was very obvious. Get lost. Lin Xian's face darkened, and he snorted coldly. He didn't even turn his head, and slammed his palm forward. Immediately, a blue ice palm slammed out and collided with the mighty figure's palm. Boom! The ice exploded, and a terrifying aura instantly caused the temperature in the entire cave to plummet. The surrounding ground was covered in frost. The mighty figure's palm was also covered with a layer of blue frost. An extremely terrifying icy aura surged into his body. Boom! The mighty figure retracted his palm, and his expression became extremely ugly. Kid, you're courting death. In the next moment he probed his other palm. He quickly struck it out. This palm was directly aimed at Lin Xian without any concealment. It was obvious that the mighty figure was furious. Buzz! Lin Xian's body instantly disappeared, and reappeared in front of him, dodging the palm. Then he waved his hand, picked the herbs in front of him, and put them into the black earth. Damn it! Seeing this scene, the mighty figure roared crazily, while the third prince's face darkened. This is a slap in the face, a slap in the face. Previously, they had mocked Lin Xian, and said that if they fought with their own abilities, they wouldn't be able to get anything. But now Lin Xian had picked 3 precious herbs right in front of them. If this wasn't a slap in the face, what was? Especially the mighty figure who attacked earlier, his face darkened. He had attacked twice, but he couldn't do anything to Lin Xian, which made him lose face. Kid, hand over those 3 herbs. Chapter 2132. Lin Xian sneered. Hand it over? Why? Are you an idiot or are you out of your mind? How can I hand it over when I already have it? He rolled his eyes and sneered at such an unreasonable condition. As for that almighty, he was infuriated. You have a death wish. Since you don't want to cooperate, don't blame me for taking action. You want to snatch it? Let's see if you have what it takes. Lin Xian sneered. Hearing Lin Xian's words, the mighty figure quickly charged over. He extended his palm and slapped down. Instantly, the void trembled and the sun and moon dimmed. Whoosh! Meanwhile, Lin Xian's body moved erratically like a ghost. He turned into countless afterimages and dodged the palm. Then, he arrived near the mighty figure and extended his palm. His 5 fingers formed a claw and bit down like a green dragon. The mighty figure also retreated, but the green dragon palm instantly turned into an ice dragon. It emitted a terrifying chill. In an instant, countless pieces of ice appeared around him. Frost spread under his feet and restricted his speed. The mighty figure felt that the blood in his body was about to freeze. Damn it! What kind of ice is this? Why is it so terrifying? Although he had seen how powerful Lin Xian was before, he did not think that a young man could fight against him. However, after exchanging blows with him, he could feel how terrifying his opponent was. That chill was truly shocking. 6 directions divine fist. With a furious roar, the mighty figure waved his fist and resisted the surrounding ice. In an instant, the surrounding ice shattered. However, Lin Xian's palm landed mercilessly and grabbed the mighty figure's shoulder. Then he pressed down hard. With a crack, the mighty figure's bones broke. The terrifying chill instantly froze half of his body. You have a death wish. Seeing that, the mighty figure screamed in agony. Then a hint of madness appeared in his eyes. The other party actually injured him in an instant. It was unforgivable. In the next moment, he wanted to fight with his life. However, at that moment the third prince snorted and stopped. He could not stand it anymore. He said coldly, I'll give you the 3 herbs. Let's go. Next time, I won't let you get it so easily. To be honest, he did not want to give up on these 3 herbs. However, the power that Lin Xian displayed was truly shocking. This was especially true for his subordinate. Half of his body was already sealed in ice. If they continued to fight, he would most likely suffer even more injuries. Therefore, he had no choice but to stop the battle. However, Su Chen sneered when he heard that. Do you think he'll stop just because you say so? Who do you think you are? Third prince. I'm not someone you've invited. so I don't need to listen to your orders. Lin Xian sneered. He was not moved at all. What? Hearing this, the surrounding people were stunned. Even Daoist Long and Lord of the Underworld twitched their mouths. The royal family elders in the Grand Imperial Hall also saw this scene. They too felt dizzy. Fuck, what kind of brat is this? He's too arrogant. How dare he directly challenge the third prince? The third prince's face was gloomy. He was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He was a prince high and mighty. Moreover, his strength was ranked in the top 3 among the princes. Even the other princes had to be respectful and call him third brother when they saw him, let alone the other mighty figures. Even peerless geniuses like First Blade and Fist Tyrant had to work under him. Who dared to be rude to him? However, this brat in front of him dared to scold him? He even dared to openly defy him. This made the third prince explode with anger. The mighty figures around the third prince also had a change of expression. Then they all shouted, "How dare you? Brat, you're too presumptuous. Do you know who you're talking to?" Meanwhile, Lin Xian sneered. Isn't he just a prince? He's your master, but he has nothing to do with me. Don't try to intimidate me with your words. After saying that, Lin Xian sneered and ignored him. Daoist Long and Lord of the Underworld also laughed when they heard that. Indeed, he's right. The third prince has nothing to do with us. Why you dare to be arrogant again? Don't blame me for being rude when we get out of here. The mighty figures around them wanted to say something, but the third prince waved his hand and stopped them. Then, his eyes turned cold, and there was a hint of murderous intent in them. He stared at Lin Xian. Brat, very well. You've successfully angered me. No one has ever dared to defy me like this. You're the first. I'll let you know the consequences of offending me. Feel free to teach me. Lin Xian turned his head and ignored Prince Huishan. That scene made the third prince explode with anger again. In the next moment, he almost vomited blood because Lin Xian looked at the captured mighty figure again and said coldly, "You're the one who's been captured. You'll have to pay a price if you want to take what's mine. Otherwise, I won't let you leave like this." A hint of murderous intent appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. Damn it! What are you trying to do? That mighty figure's face darkened. To be honest, he had wanted to resist, and there was a possibility that he could. But now, while Lin Xian was talking to the third prince, Lin Xian did not stop. The cold energy in Lin Xian's body kept pouring into him, causing half of his body to be completely frozen. The spiritual energy and blood in his body were all frozen. It was impossible for him to resist even if he wanted to. He might have a chance if he didn't get seriously injured. But that was only a chance. Lin Xian smiled and looked at him. Hand over a piece of divine crystal, and he'll let you go. What? Hand over a piece of divine crystal? That mighty figure was stunned when he heard that. The other mighty figures were also stunned. Damn, this is a robbery. Brat, don't be too arrogant. They roared again, but Lin Xian sneered. You're right in robbing you. Why? Do you really think that you don't have to pay a price for attacking me? Who do you think I am? That I can be bullied by you? If you want to attack me, you'll have to pay a painful price. One piece of divine crystal is not a small amount. I've already frozen half of your body. If you dare to attack me, I can guarantee that half of your body will turn into nothingness in an instant. By then you might be able to hurt me or escape, but you'll definitely be seriously injured, and your combat strength will be greatly reduced. Whether you can recover or not is still unknown. Do you think that one piece of divine crystal in exchange for half of your life is a lot? Lin Xian ignored the others and said coldly, I'll give you 5 seconds to consider. If you don't pay me the divine crystal in 5 seconds, it'll cripple half of your body. Overbearing, he's too overbearing. The aura that Lin Xian displayed at this moment had truly shocked everyone present. Even the elders of the royal family were speechless. He's a freaking bandit. He's a heavenly bandit. However, none of them dared to resist. Chapter 2133. Previously, they thought that Lin Xian did not speak much, and was even a little taciturn. They thought that he had a good temper. But now, it seemed that it was not the case at all. He probably could not be bothered with these people. As expected, When these people provoked him, they had to pay a painful price. The Mighty One was sweating profusely. He knew that Lin Xian was right. If he attacked now, he might have a chance to seriously injure the other party, but he would definitely be half dead. He did not want to take such a risk, so he could only grit his teeth and take out a piece of green divine crystal. His heart was bleeding. That was because a piece of divine crystal was of great significance to him. He did not have many divine crystals in his entire fortune. Now that he had taken out one of them to buy his life, it really made his heart ache. However, there was nothing he could do. Very well. Lin Xian took the divine crystal, then pushed his palm and sent the Mighty One flying. The Mighty One quickly retreated and put some distance between them. At the same time, he swallowed a pill. A wave of blazing lava surged out of his body and burned the ice. Soon he regained his mobility. Then his face darkened. He roared angrily and was about to attack. However, Lin Xian sneered. What? You still want to attack? However, capturing you this time is not something that can be settled with a piece of divine crystal. You have to think carefully. Buzz. Hearing that, the Mighty One stopped in his tracks. His expression was extremely ugly. He gritted his teeth, and his eyes flickered. In the end, he snorted coldly. Kid, just you wait. This is not over. He did not attack. Instead, he admitted defeat. The Mighty Ones on the third prince's side all widened their eyes. This was too illogical. No matter what, they had to fight for at least 300 rounds, killing each other to the death. However, that Mighty One did not attack. What's going on? Could it be that this kid's strength is already enough to threaten elite Mighty Ones? They were extremely shocked, and the way they looked at Lin Xian changed again. Meanwhile, Lin Xian looked at the third prince and the others and sneered. You're welcome to attack me. However, prepare the divine crystals in advance to buy your life. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Hearing those words, the third prince and the Mighty Ones beside him vomited blood. Too arrogant. They had never met such an insolent person. However, the other party was so powerful. If they were to attack, Taoist Long and the Lord of the Underworld would not just stand by and watch. He would definitely help Lin Xian. Therefore, it was really not worth it to make a move now. Therefore, the third prince let out a cold sigh and ignored Lin Xian. He would remember this grudge. When he got out, he would gather all his subordinates and kill the other party. But for now, it was better to look for treasures first. After which, the third prince led the group and strode forward, no longer paying any attention to Lin Xian and the other two. The third prince actually gave up. Inside the Grand Imperial Hall, the elders all cried out in surprise and disgust animatedly. Damn, how could he tolerate this? The third prince shouldn't be like this. This was completely out of character for him. That young man, had he already reached such a terrifying stage? Many people were shocked. However, the people on the eighth prince's side sneered. What third prince? So he's just a good-for-nothing. You don't have any courage at all. How could such a person become a prince? That's right, he's a disgrace to the royal family. This was a good opportunity to suppress the third prince's faction. How could they give it up? Immediately, waves of mockery and ridicule were heard. On the other hand, the third prince was hopping mad. Someone retorted, "What do you know? This is called forbearance. Considering the big picture, do you understand? In ancient times, who wouldn't endure humiliation and take the big picture into consideration? What kind of ability is it to show off one's courage? The one who has the last laugh is the winner." The third prince's side quickly counterattacked. For a time, the hall was extremely noisy. The atmosphere became extremely tense as they opposed each other with equal harshness. In the dark canyon, the third prince and the others were indeed quickly leading the way. It was not that they were kind, but they wanted to snatch the treasures. If Lin Xian and the other two were in front, they would probably have to fight another big battle. The Lord of the Underworld and Taoist Long looked gloomy, but Lin Xian was very relaxed. Kid, why aren't you anxious at all? The Lord of the Underworld asked. He was very confused. What's the hurry? Lin Xian shrugged. Let them lead the way first. Anyway, it's so dangerous here, let them take the risk. This way, we'll be safe, but we won't have the chance to hide and take the treasures. Is that so? Not necessarily. Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile. Soon, at this moment, exclamations could be heard from the third prince's side. It seemed that he had found something good again. Hearing these exclamations, the Lord of the Underworld and Taoist Long also focused their gazes and looked ahead like lightning. Then they exclaimed, "Earth Ganoderma! There's actually an Earth Ganoderma in front." Earth Ganoderma? Hearing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Then a smile appeared on his face. "Little White, you can take action now." Lin Xian sent a voice transmission. MMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMMM treasure basin. During this period of time, its strength had also increased. As long as there were no large array formations sealing the treasures, it could snatch them. Of course, if there was an array formation, it might be more troublesome. It would depend on how powerful the array formation was. If the array formation was more powerful than Little White Monkey, it would not be able to take the treasures out. Otherwise, it could be taken out. However, there did not seem to be any array formations around the Earth Ganoderma, so Lin Xian directly let Little White Monkey take action. Whoosh! In front, the third prince and the others were also delighted when they saw the Earth Ganoderma. Among them, the red-robed elder walked forward and reached out to pluck the Earth Ganoderma. Buzz! However, before he could do anything, the Earth Ganoderma in front of him suddenly disappeared, leaving only a root buried in the soil. What's going on? The red-robed elder was stunned. The third prince, and all the other powerful beings around him were stunned as well. They then rubbed their eyes furiously. Where's the Earth Ganoderma? Why is it gone? Damn it, it's really gone. Chapter 2134. There were so many of them, but none of them found anything. Could it be that this expert was so powerful that they couldn't detect him? Or could it be that there was no expert, and there were other reasons for the disappearance of the Earth Ganoderma? They couldn't figure it out, but their faces were gloomy and unhappy. Behind him, a red lingji appeared in Lin Xian's hand. However, he quickly put it away with a flip of his wrist. Taoist Master Long and the Lord of the Underworld were stunned, although their eyes were focused in front of them, and they even used their soul power to detect the unknown mysterious expert. However, their shockwaves still swept over to Lin Xian's side. They vaguely saw a collar appear in Lin Xian's hand. However, when they wanted to take a closer look, they realized that the Ganoderma in Lin Xian's hand had disappeared. What was going on? Could it be that this kid did it? The Lord of the Underworld and Taoist Master Long were also stunned. Furthermore, they recalled how Lin Xian had been following behind the third prince at a leisurely pace, looking very relaxed. They thought that it was very strange, but now it seemed that Lin Xian had some kind of secret technique that allowed him to take things from a distance. That was why he wasn't worried that the third prince and the others would take it away. This kid was too mysterious. The two of them were extremely shocked. Although they had lived for thousands of years, they had never seen such a mysterious young man. In front of them, the third prince and the others looked around, but didn't find anyone suspicious. Finally, they turned around and fixed their eyes on Lin Xian and the others. If there was anyone suspicious, it would be the three people behind them. What are you looking at? Fight me if you don't like it. The Lord of the Underworld glared at the third prince and the others when they turned around. Hearing that, the third prince couldn't help but feel the blood in his body rushing to his head. He was about to go berserk. Since when did a mighty figure dare to talk back to him? However, he had endured for so long. If he lost his temper now, all his efforts would be in vain. Moreover, the other party wasn't simple. He knew that the Lord of the Underworld was a king of darkness, and he had a special bonus in the Dark Canyon. He didn't know how strong his combat power was. However, he still snorted coldly. I suspect that it was the three of you who did it. The three of you should obediently walk to the front, the third prince said in a deep voice. Because he couldn't see clearly at the back, if he let the three of them walk in front, he would be able to scout for danger. Secondly, if these people wanted to attack again, they would be able to discover it immediately. At that time, he would definitely not let these people off. The Underworld King and Taoist Long immediately smiled when they heard that. They had wanted to go to the front for a long time. The corners of Su Chen's lips curled up as well. It didn't matter where it was. He didn't care. Therefore, in the next moment the three of them strode forward. Haha, the feeling of walking at the front is different. What a wide field of vision. The Lord of the Underworld was extremely excited. He rubbed his large hands together and scanned the surroundings with lightning speed. On the side, Taoist Long also looked solemn. Clearly, they would not return empty-handed after coming to the front. At the very least, he had to obtain a large number of treasures. Lin Xian had a smile on his face, and a faint light flickered in his eyes. Since they were in front of him, he was even more direct. Because he had the eye technique in his powerful soul power, he could see further. Therefore, before the third prince and his men could discover the treasures in the distance, he had Snowy White Marquis pick them up from afar. The ones near him were the joint efforts of the Lord of the Underworld and Taoist Long. That was the dark demon metal. The Lord of the Underworld's eyes lit up. Then, he reached out his palm and grabbed in front of him. Behind him, the third prince and his men also noticed this and quickly took action. The Lord of the Underworld roared, "Get lost, all of you." As he spoke, two purple wings appeared on his back. They turned into heavenly swords and swept out. Clang! Then, it collided with the mighty figures behind him, making an earth-shattering sound. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the Lord of the Underworld's hand grabbed the dark demon metal and put it away. Fuck! The faces of the mighty figures behind him turned green with anger. What a joke! How could they allow these people to take away the treasures that they found? Therefore, in the next moment they all roared, "Damn it, hand it over!" The Lord of the Underworld sneered, "Hand it over? What a joke! Didn't we agree to rely on our own abilities? If I get it, it's mine." These people were so anxious that they almost vomited blood. Previously, when the three of them were at the back, they couldn't get anything. Now that the three of them were at the front, they couldn't get anything either. Could it be that the three of them were sent by the heavens to restrain them? The third prince's face was also gloomy, and the murderous intent in his eyes was about to explode. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, "Let's split up and search in different directions." He finally changed his strategy. Instead of searching in groups, he spread out in small groups. That way, they would have more places to search. As expected, they also found some treasures. However, the real treasures had long been taken away by Lin Xian. What they had now were things that Lin Xian didn't care about. Indeed, during this period of time, Lin Xian had obtained a lot of spiritual herbs, ores and metals. The metals could be used to refine treasures, and the spiritual herbs could be used to refine pills. They could increase the cultivation levels of Lin Xian, the little white monkey, and the dark red dragon. Soon, they continued to go deeper, but there was no path ahead. It was blocked by a door. Seeing this, the third prince and the others became excited, because this meant that there was an entrance in front. Perhaps it was the entrance to the ancient ruins. Even Lin Xian and the other two's eyes were burning with passion. The elders of the Grand Imperial Hall cried out in surprise when they saw this scene. They were looking forward to it. After all, no one had ever entered the ruins. The two stone doors in front of them were abnormally simple, and there were mysterious runes engraved on them. Although the light was dim and would extinguish at any time, the aura coming from them was abnormally heavy. It made them feel a sense of trepidation. This was energy that had existed for countless years. It was hard to imagine how terrifying the person who had set up this energy back then was. Attack together. The third prince took a deep breath and gave the order. Boom! Boom! The third prince's powerful figures stood in a row and quickly attacked. The violent attacks blasted on the ancient stone doors, causing shocking collisions. However, the runes on the stone doors shone, forming a vortex that diluted all the violent energy. Then, everything returned to normal. The stone doors did not change at all. What? How could this be? Seeing this, the third prince and the others were stunned, and their faces turned ugly. The elders in the Grand Imperial Hall frowned as they watched the scene through the light screen. As expected of the ruins of the Dark Canyon, it was indeed mysterious. Chapter 2135. As expected of the ruins of the Dark Canyon. It was incomparably mysterious. That's right, I wonder if these people can open it? The third prince's gaze was gloomy. He quickly looked at Lin Xian and the other two and said, "Let's attack together. Otherwise, you won't be able to enter." "All right." Taoist Master Long nodded. Now was indeed the time to work together. Taoist Master Long and the other two also joined in. Then those terrifying powerhouses attacked again. Violent energy violently blasted forward. Even the third prince did not stay idle, and attacked as well. Boom, boom, boom. Shocking energy exploded, and the void was instantly torn apart. However, the stone door in front of them did not budge at all. It seemed to have withstood everyone's attacks. "Damn it, open!" Everyone roared again and increased their strength. The runes on the stone door also began to tremble. It was obvious that it could not withstand the power anymore. The stone door also rumbled as if it was about to open at any moment. However, it did not open in the end. It seemed that they were still lacking a little. Damn it! No, they're still lacking a little. Everyone retracted their hands with ugly expressions. They had already used their terrifying power. They had not opened it yet. Could it be that they had to use their trump cards to open the stone door? However, if they used their trump cards now, wouldn't they be exposing themselves? Therefore, they were in a dilemma for a moment. However, at that moment, a sneer came from behind. "So what if I join in? Who is it?" Hearing that, everyone's hair stood on end, and their hearts turned cold. There's someone. Someone is indeed hiding nearby. Previously, they even suspected that it was Lin Xian and the others who had secretly stolen the treasure. However, it seemed that it was very likely not the case. It was very likely that the mysterious powerhouse was hiding in the dark. Now that the door could not be opened, the mysterious powerhouse could no longer hold back, and was finally about to appear. The third prince was extremely shocked, while Lin Xian and Taoist Master Long were even more shocked. They did not expect that there would be a hidden powerhouse here. In the Grand Imperial Hall, the Imperial clan's elders also cried out in alarm. "What? There's someone else. Who is it? How did they come in? Is it a powerhouse invited from the outside, or a creature from the Dark Canyon?" When they thought of the latter possibility, they gasped, and a look of shock appeared in their eyes. But soon they were stunned. That was because they saw a golden figure walk out of the light screen. While they were stunned, the third prince and Lin Xian were also stunned, because they realized that they actually knew this mysterious person. "Golden Lion King, it's actually you!" The third prince cried out in surprise. Then his eyes became extremely solemn. The Golden Lion King was a subordinate of the first prince. Now that it was here, did that mean that the first prince was here as well? The Almighties behind him also looked as if they were facing a great enemy. Even Lin Xian and the other two looked serious, because the Golden Lion King was indeed an incomparably terrifying opponent. Moreover, the other party's background was extremely mysterious. He was a war race genius. More importantly, they didn't know if this fellow had come alone, or with the first prince's subordinates. However, after looking around, they heaved a sigh of relief. That was because they discovered that other than the Golden Lion King, no one else appeared. This meant that it wasn't the first prince who brought people to kill their way in. Instead, it was the Golden Lion King, who came in by himself. But thinking of this, their scalps still went numb. He actually dared to enter the Dark Canyon alone, and even managed to come here. Wasn't this Golden Lion King a little too terrifying? Facing everyone's gazes, the Golden Lion King didn't care at all. His tall figure emitted a sun-like radiance, illuminating the surrounding darkness. He was like a war god, bringing with him a strong sense of oppression. "Let's work together to break open this stone door." The Golden Lion King spoke in a deep voice. It didn't seem like he was discussing with everyone, but rather, he seemed to be giving an order. Hearing this, everyone was unhappy. Which one of them here wasn't a peerless character? Why would they be ordered by a young man? The Almighties under the third prince were also unhappy. Lin Xian's eyes flickered as he stared at the Golden Lion King. He was a peerless genius, and the other party was also a peerless genius. Moreover, both of them had a perfect record in the first round. He felt a little regretful that they didn't fight in the first round. Seeing the other party, Lin Xian felt the blood in his body boiling. Naturally, the Golden Lion King also felt Lin Xian's gaze. He then turned his head, and a golden radiance burst out from his eyes. It was like a golden sword, slicing through the void. Buzz! Boom! 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 Their gazes clashed in the air, creating an intense explosion. Countless black cracks appeared in the void. Then, a black hole appeared between the two of them, showing signs of expanding. Seeing this scene, the Almighties gasped, and shock appeared in their eyes. These two youngsters, don't look at their young age, their strength was really too powerful. At this moment, the energy emitted by the two of them made them feel a chill down their spines. In the Grand Imperial Hall, the elders were all excited when they saw this scene. These were two top young geniuses. If they were to fight, what kind of scene would it be? They were even looking forward to it. Overestimating themselves. On the other hand, the Empress snorted, and a trace of disdain appeared in her eyes. The Golden Lion King was personally invited by her. He was a genius of the war race, and it could be said that he was born for battle. He was extremely strong. No matter how strong Lin Xian was, how could he be compared to the Golden Lion King? Dark Canyon in front of the stone door. The aura from the two of them was getting stronger and stronger, and it looked like an even more intense collision was about to happen. However, at this moment the third prince stood out. He sighed, and then said in a deep voice, "The two of you please stop. Now is not the time to fight. Let's work together, and break the stone door first." To be honest, he also hoped that the two of them would fight now, because they weren't his subordinates. It would be best if both of them were injured. But now he should focus on the big picture. He was eager to know what kind of treasure was hidden behind the stone door. Therefore, after weighing the pros and cons, the third prince decided to work together to open the stone door first. The Golden Lion King snorted and retracted his gaze. On the other side, Lin Xian's aura also receded like the tide, and it returned to calmness. In the next moment, everyone made their move. Boom! Boom! The stone door trembled. This time, it trembled even more violently. Then, a crack appeared on the stone door, and the two doors opened completely. It opened. It finally opened. Chapter 2136. Even the elders in the Grand Imperial Hall were excited, let alone them. However, Lin Xian and the others were not in a hurry to enter. They had been to countless ruins and knew that it was extremely dangerous inside. Therefore, they first put on their armor and even surrounded themselves with their king's domain. After all the defenses were set up, they entered. This was the Dark Canyon, which was 100 times more dangerous than outside. They had to be careful. Otherwise, they would not even know how they died. However, when they entered, they were a little stunned, because along the way, they did not receive any attacks at all, nor did they encounter any formations. This left them in a daze. One had to know that in other ruins, there would be a terrifying formation or attack after taking 2 steps. However, it was calm and peaceful now. This silence made them feel even more uneasy. It had to be said that it was very magical inside, because they realized that it was a world of its own. Indeed, as they walked, they felt that the scene under their feet had changed. It was no longer a cave, but an island floating in the sky. The surroundings were no longer dark, but white clouds and immortal fog. In front of them, the palaces and pavilions were emitting resplendent light. Those who did not know better would think that they had arrived at a paradise. The third prince, and the others were dumbfounded. Lin Xian was also extremely surprised. The royal family elders stared with their eyes wide open in disbelief. They did not expect that there would be such a magical ruin in the Dark Canyon. Which peerless powerhouse had left it behind? We're rich! We're rich! Ha 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 ha! Those mighty figures cheered excitedly. From the looks of it, no one had been here before. Moreover, it was definitely the wealth left behind by a peerless powerhouse. There were definitely countless natural treasures inside. If they could get some, they would definitely be rich. Taoist Master Long and the Netherworld King also took a deep breath. Their eyes were filled with joy. At the side, the Golden Lion King revealed a smile. Lin Xian's eyes flickered as he looked around. He had already summoned Little White. Once he found a treasure, he would immediately take action. As expected, the mighty figures under the third prince could not wait, and quickly rushed forward. Boom! Boom! At this moment the surroundings changed. In the sky, the clouds rumbled and formed thunderclouds. Then, they came crashing down rapidly. The terrifying lightning was like a wild snake, instantly enveloping those mighty figures. Damn it! Get lost! A powerful being roared towards the sky, and spat out flames to resist the lightning above. Some mighty figures waved their mountain-like palms in front of them. The sound of an intense collision was heard. Then, the few powerful beings retreated with gloomy expressions. Because the power of the lightning was truly too terrifying. In particular, the thunderclouds above continued to bombard the sky, as if it was a heavenly tribulation. This made the third prince Taoist long, and the others gasp. What kind of energy was this? Could it really be a heavenly tribulation? It seemed that they still needed to work together. The third prince's expression was solemn. However, the Golden Lion King merely laughed coldly. There was no need for that. Since they were already here, they would rely on their own abilities. As he spoke, he strode forward. Following his actions, a terrifying thundercloud also condensed above him and enveloped the Golden Lion King. Then, the sky full of thunder and lightning poured down. Wong! At this moment, the Golden Lion King also made its move. Golden light erupted from his body and swept out in all directions like the sun. Boom! With a punch, the golden fist tore the world apart and crashed into the thunder and lightning in the sky. Suddenly a huge black hole appeared. What? So terrifying! Seeing this scene, everyone sucked in a mouthful of cold air. This Golden Lion King was too frightening. It actually shattered such a frightening lightning with a single punch. One must know that even elite powerful beings would find it hard to resist this kind of thunder and lightning. However, the Golden Lion King shattered it with just a raise of his hand. Didn't this mean that the opponent's strength had already surpassed that of elite powerful beings? Heavens, what level had he reached? Was this the strength of the war tribe? It was too terrifying. Not to mention the third prince and the others. Even the elders in the Grand Imperial Hall were extremely shocked. The war tribe was extremely mysterious. They had already gone into seclusion 10,000 years ago. Who would have thought that they would come out again? However, the Golden Lion King's strength had left them extremely shocked. The sky full of thunder and lightning poured down and enveloped the Golden Lion King. However, the Golden Lion King's body emitted a golden radiance. The image of a lion circled around him, resisting the terrifying thunder and lightning. Then he took a step forward and walked forward. Damn it! Let's do it too! Seeing this scene, the third prince also shouted in anger. The powerful beings around him quickly gathered together and worked together to resist the thunder and lightning in the sky. Lin Xian's side also made a move. On Lin Xian's body, the dragon sword domain appeared and enveloped him. On the other side, Taoist Long and the Netherworld King also used their king domains and walked forward. In the sky, violent thunder and lightning descended and directly pierced through the void. That terrifying thunder and lightning made the scalps of these powerful beings numb. They even suspected that if they couldn't withstand it and were struck by the thunder and lightning, would they be directly pierced through? However, fortunately, they didn't encounter any danger along the way. They finally managed to avoid the terrifying heavenly tribulation by a hair's breadth. Everyone's face was pale. When they turned around, they realized that they had only walked about 100 meters. On the ground of 100 meters, there were blue lines that looked like thunder and lightning. Could it be that it was because of these paths that the heavenly tribulation condensed? These people were extremely shocked. As expected of the ancient ruins, it was indeed incomparably mysterious. This made them even more careful. Fortunately, after walking for more than 100 meters, there was a palace in front of them. It was a 6-story pavilion. It was very simple and unadorned, but there was no dust on it. Instead, it was overflowing with light. Boom! The Golden Lion King took the lead. He opened the door and walked in. The people behind him also saw the situation inside and exclaimed in surprise. Supreme-grade spirit medicine. A peerless treasure saber. The cauldron was still emitting smoke. Could there be immortal pills in there? Everyone was extremely shocked because they realized that in the center of the hall on the first floor, there was a huge cauldron. It was more than 3 meters tall, and there were exquisite patterns carved on it that were vivid and lifelike. What shocked them even more was that there were wisps of white smoke coming out of the cauldron. Although they weren't alchemists, they had seen alchemy before. It was exactly the same as the scene in front of them. Could it be that someone was still refining pills in there? Thinking of this, they were extremely vigilant and looked around cautiously. However, they didn't find anyone. But what was with the white smoke? Could it be that the owner of this ruin refined pills? Thinking of this, they were even more stunned. No matter what, this ruin should have existed for thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years, but the pills were still being refined. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.